How is your fundraiser going this year? If it's anything less than amazing, it's time to talk to Shawn Murphy at FanPledge. No product to sell, nothing to deliver, and guaranteed results. Raise at least 10% more than your current donation-based fundraiser, or it's free. Fun, fast, proven. Call Shawn at 903-948-7348. FanPledge. The champions are already on board. Are you? Band Yap is proudly sponsored by Troubadour Consultants. When it comes to planning group travel for your fine arts program, look no further than Troubadour Consultants. Whether you're organizing a major out-of-state trip or need top-notch accommodations for the state marching contest, John Mize and his team are ready to create a custom travel experience that meets your band's unique needs. As a family-owned, band director-run company, Troubadour understands exactly what it takes to make your trip stress-free and seamless. Plus, when you book a trip with Troubadour, they will sponsor a $500 college scholarship for a student in your band. Directors who book will also receive a free Mollard baton as a special thank you. Visit troubadourconsultants.com today to start planning your next trip with the experts who truly get it.
Yeah, I missed that. I wish I could bring that back. That, and I wish MTV still played music videos.
Oh, yes.
We're going to do stuff the right way when nobody's watching if we're doing it the right way. We're going to do stuff the right way even if nobody pats us on the back, just because that's what we do. And we do it always. That's part of being a really good human.
Hello and welcome back to Band Yap. My name is Alexa Sanchez.
And I'm Jose Sanchez.
And today we have a jack of all trades. We have Jason Nitsch. Hi, Jason.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It's going.
Hey, Jason, can you tell me how often people stumble or mispronounce your last name?
All of my life.
I think I almost did just now. I just really had to think about it.
Like you have to ignore the S.
Yeah, ignore the S. And when people say, well, how do you pronounce your name? I say carefully.
What is the country of origin?
German. Yeah.
German?
Yeah. So there used to be a lot more letters in my last name. And then when my family immigrated, they cut out a lot of them. They left that S. They have some attachment to that S, and I don't know why. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you know what the original meaning was?
No. I probably should Google that and find out, but no.
So you know what the meaning of Sanchez is?
Yeah, it's son of Sancho, which is like basically calling me a bastard.
Okay.
Well, that's he's looking up his last name origin now.
I really am. I got to remember how they used to spell it.
We're off to a great
NIETZSCHE.
I was gonna guess that there was a Z in there. Yeah.
There was definitely a Z, but I don't know what it means now. This is great. This is great television.
Well, I mean, everyone, I know a guy whose last name is Underwood.
Yeah.
And it's because his family.
Well, that seems easy to figure out.
Yeah. It's like Smith. What kind of Smith? Blacksmith? Mm-hmm. Other Smith? Silversmith?
All that Google wants to pull up is Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was not a founder of existentialism, but,
Not that we, know of.
I'm not that I know of. Yeah, but I mean, that was a while ago. So, I mean, Fred and I never talked about it. So,
well, we'll never know. Now you have some homework.
Long lost cousin Fred.
That's what I needed was one more side quest to go on.
One more thing to do. One thing to add to his plate.
You are the king of the side quests.
Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and go after it. How many different podcasts are you on?
Among other things.
Well, I have the Beyond the Belt Adventures from the Outer Rim sci-fi podcast that I write and produce and write the score. Now in production on season 4 for those of you following at home. I have that one. I have my Composer Chat podcast where I interview and I talk to other composers for a while. I have that podcast now in season 2. I actually have another one I'm working on. It's not really it's going to be a podcast, but it's kind of an offshoot since I brought up side quests. It's kind of a side quest, like little mini series off of the Beyond the Belt show that I'm working on that I hope will release this fall. I don't know. I like storytelling and I like talking. So this is like the perfect medium for me because I have a face made for radio and a voice made for silent movies. So, I try to take advantage of, the platforms I have.
Which podcast came first?
Beyond the Belt came first.
Okay.
That
That's what I
one
thought.
came first. Yeah. I've always really wanted to write some like really epic like science fiction movie. I'm a huge science fiction fan, and that's never materialized because we have John Williams and we have Michael Giacchino and we have a lot of really more talented people than me. So I started that podcast mostly so that I could write some really awesome sci-fi music, and for reasons I will never be able to understand, people listened. So I had to keep doing it, and now I'm kind of stuck with it until I figure out how to kill all the characters, and then we can bring an end to it. Well, everybody's dead.
Oh, okay. So this is a medium for you to do your, expression of what sci-fi music was to you.
Yeah.
And then it became its own entire work. Can you give us a synopsis of what Beyond the Belt is?
No. Well, I can best answer this question by telling you what it was supposed to be when I set out to do it. What I originally thought the show was going to be is I thought it was going to be like an old time radio show where you tune in, here's the sci-fi radio hour, tune in, the next hour will take you on a grand adventure. I thought it was going to be something like that, and every episode would kind of be its own like standalone sort of show. And this show would be about this, and the next show would be about something else, and they're not really related. And so I made the first episode, what I thought was the first episode. Here's the first one. That was the whole story. There was no more story. And I played it for people. People were like, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear what happens to all these people. And I was like, that's not really what I was going to do. But that was sort of the response I got. And I was like, well, okay. So then I wrote this whole season worth of that storyline and made it. And then I got to the end of that and I thought, okay, well, every season can be like a standalone thing and each one can be a different story. And the same thing happened. We got to the end of season 1 and people were like, this is so awesome. I can't wait to hear the next bit. And I was like, oh. So that's kind of how it came out. Basically what you have is you're following the colonial Marines, the deep space colonial Marines. Colonial Marines, a term I borrowed from the James Cameron Aliens movies. He called his little space army the Colonial Marines, and I have a lot of callbacks to my favorite sci-fi shows and movies. You basically follow like one group of Colonial Marines out there just trying to fight bad guys and help the good guys, and they stumble onto secret labs and zombies in space and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And it really kind of goes from that. And then, they stumble onto this thing and then they've got to kind of figure out what's going on. And then as the seasons go on, it gets more and more complicated and more nefarious, and you kind of meet the bad guys. And yeah, it's kind of like that in space.
So, okay, let me ask you this then. What is the best sci-fi movie series of all time?
It's a hard
series, like in totality.
Sure.
Gosh, I mean,
this is your opinion. That's your opinion. I have my opinion.
That's tough. That's really tough. I mean, I pretty much like anything with the word star in it. So Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate, like I'm in. Honestly, I would probably say if you're just talking about, I would almost say Stargate probably for me, because for me, that was the one that even through all the TV shows, the 3 different TV shows kind of stayed true to the concept, the original concept of the movie. So I really love the Stargate and all the Stargate Atlantis and universe and all that. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. Star Wars is very divisive amongst the fandom.
I'm about to say, if you could stop at any one movie, which one would you stop with?
I mean, can I say Empire Strikes Back? I mean, I don't know. Like,
Empire's so good. Oh,
Empire's so good. Yeah, Empire's so good. That's the thing. I mean, I don't know. I love Star Wars and I watch it all, and and there's redeeming things about all of it. I don't get into the hate very much. There's obviously parts of it I like more than others, but that's obviously really great. The Star Trek universe is really great and also very different. Same thing with the movies and the TV shows. And I mean, I think there's a lot of really good kind of sci-fi franchises. You could throw Aliens in there. That's kind of a sci-fi horror franchise. Predator, that's the same thing. And then you get a lot of standalones that I think are really great. I'm a big fan of an older movie called Galaxy Quest.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if anybody's familiar with Galaxy Quest.
We're
watch
big fans.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. There's a lot of Galaxy Quest throwbacks in Beyond the Belt. The ship is called the Protector after the Protector in the Galaxy Quest. My favorite though, if you haven't seen the movie, I would highly recommend it. But it's a really incredible cast. I think we would all agree, a really incredible cast. But my favorite is watching a very young, unknown Sam Rockwell play crewman number 7, who flips out because he doesn't even have a name. He thinks he's going to get killed because he doesn't have a name. Guy, yeah. I really love Galaxy Quest, and lots of little movies like that. Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. I don't know if you know that movie. Really, really fantastic. Great.
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, The Rocketeer.
I've seen The Rocketeer.
Yeah, you're saying a few things that like I had totally forgotten about, like, Stargate, and I remember like watching so much of the TV series, and it was like ridiculous.
Stargate was always on, like in the middle of the night on Sci-Fi, but I never watched it. I never was into that.
Can we bring back old school Sci-Fi Channel?
Yeah, I feel like we could. We should.
Yeah,
somebody should.
It's 2:00 in the afternoon, and there's giant spiders on your TV screen.
Like,
yeah. Now it's all online. Now it's it's YouTube channels and stuff like that where you get really like cool, innovative, edgy sci-fi little shorts. There's a lot of that floating around out there. If that's your world.
So who got you into the sci-fi scene?
I don't know, because neither of my parents were really about it, and I don't have any siblings. I think it's because I was an only child and I spent a lot of time alone, and so the idea of living in these really fanciful, worlds, these really imaginative places, I think that probably really appealed to me because I was creating my own adventure most of the time. And I just happened to be growing up at a time when, I got to see Empire Strikes Back in the theater. I got to see Return of the Jedi in the theater. And, it was like the heyday of kind of sci-fi's rebirth. You got all of that. You got all those Star Trek movies. You got a lot of other kind of parallel sort of series that were really compelling as well. You got the Superman movies and Indiana Jones, and, like cool adventure was in the air. And so I was always drawn to cool space adventure for whatever reason. I don't know.
Alexa, did anybody in your family really gravitate towards the sci-fi?
My dad was really big into like OG Star Wars, but he always had sci-fi on, like always had the Sci-Fi Channel on. And so that's the thing about me, I guess, is I have a hard time seeking out new content to watch because there's so much of it. And I get overwhelmed by the choice. But when there was like old school, like the Sci-Fi Channel was on and that's what was on, like I was like force fed so much of that stuff to where that's why I've seen so many of those little things. But my dad, and you know this, but he's like oddly into a lot of that stuff. Like if you talk to him about like aliens and like specifically
Troopers.
Yeah, he loves Starship Troopers.
Oh,
all that stuff.
Starship Troopers. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah. The Rocketeer, like
those are really good.
My parents watched that movie, like, I don't even think my mom did. I don't know why I said my parents, but my dad probably watched that movie like 20 times in the 90s. Like all that kind of stuff he was super into. So that's how I kind of like. My sister, though, is not like, I'm still into it. And I think it's partially because you're into it. She is like not about it. Does not care.
Well, there's a lot to catch up on now, too. Like, you got The Expanse, you got the Battleship or Battlestar, a miniseries that came out. You got stuff like Firefly, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's kind of been a push back for a lot more compelling sci-fi recently.
Yeah.
I got into it because of my grandmother.
I was about to say that. Yeah. Your grandmother watched Star Trek, right?
Yeah, she was a Trekkie. I don't know why. Like, out of all the things, I mean, here I am. Here's my 65-year-old grandmother watching Star Trek and like watching like specifically like that awful, you know, generated just spider movies, piranha movies, anything that was
Anaconda.
yeah, Anaconda, anything that was just like out of pocket. My grandmother was
Yeah.
into, and I just didn't understand it, but she loved that stuff.
Did she watch telenovelas?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So telenovelas was like during the day, and then like
Oh.
Star Trek was at night.
Oh yeah.
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 Okay. All right.
Oh, Johnny. I remember her watching Johnny Carson and MASH.
And then watching Star Trek?
Yes. Like that was
Yeah.
like a whole like the flavors everywhere. Like and the telenovelas were so like prominent. Our priest used to talk about them in church on Sundays and weave them into his sermons.
I mean, yeah.
Why are there no sci-fi telenovelas?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a reach. You know, Jason, I think we just found a market.
That's good. That's what I need is one more project.
Yeah,
to work
he
on.
needs something else to do.
Well, Jason, now that we've derailed quite drastically, can you tell us about yourself, background, education, teaching experience, all that kind of good stuff?
Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, first of all, who cares? But yeah, well, let's see. How far do you want me to go back here? Like
As far back as you want. I
I
mean,
mean, there was one
let's
day I
start-
was born and I messed around for a while. I'm told I don't remember.
So
I don't know.
Let's say 6th grade band.
6th grade band. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. 6th grade band was a real adventure because I was at a private school at the time. And I remember we had a band teacher that came in like once a week and we would play some stuff. I'm going to use the quotes, play some stuff. So it wasn't great. And then we moved out to the suburbs like everybody does. And this was in Houston. I grew up in Houston, and we moved out to the suburbs. We moved out to Klein, and I walked into 7th grade at Dory Intermediate, and hey, I played drums, and I had no idea what I was doing, and they looked at me like I had no idea what I was doing. But for some reason, they didn't run me off, and I can't figure that out, quite frankly. But they were really great. Susan Eisenson was the director, and David Lambert was her assistant, and then Richard Thomas for a little while, I think was there. Anyway, I had some really good friends there. I caught up in a hurry, as best I could, but I didn't have a real like 6th grade band experience like a lot of people think of now. So I really sort of learned on the fly, but I was kind of intuitive about things. So I figured this stuff out really quickly, even if I didn't totally understand it, I could figure things out. And so I kind of got along enough through middle school. It wasn't really till I got to high school that I really actually like learned to read. Really wasn't until I got to high school I really like truly learned where I truly understood it and could do it and could tackle anything. And I don't know, I had this weird like epiphany. You know how you got a student that's just like, there's nothing wrong with this student, but they're just not lighting the world on fire, kind of a thing. They're, great kid, smart, all this stuff. I was totally that kid. And then something happened like at the end of my freshman year of high school. Like I just figured a bunch of stuff out. And yeah, and like my freshman year, I was on the cymbal line. Like I was so lost. I had no idea what was happening. I remember the day in band camp, I realized that there was some like correlation between all this like walking around we were doing in the morning and the music we would play in the afternoon. I was like, oh, this goes together. I see. I remember very clearly going, oh, that's cool. Did you know that this stuff went together? Like I didn't know. Like that was not August either. Like it was late. But yeah, I don't know. I had this weird epiphany at the end of my freshman year. And then like all of a sudden I like figured a bunch of stuff out and like I made the tenor line as a sophomore and everybody kind of went, what's Jason doing over on the tenor line? Like, and then it was like, I don't know, I was off for the races. It was like, I got into my groove and I never stopped. And, yeah, that was kind of it. Ended up going to Baylor, studying music. I wanted to be a composition major, but there was really not a composition program at the time. Richard Willis had been the composition teacher. He got sick. He had very late stage brain cancer, if I remember right as I was getting to campus. So the composition department kind of cratered because they didn't really replace him And he ended up passing away pretty soon after that. And really, the whole time I was there was no composition department. So I ended up an ed major, which was also fine. I was very passionate about teaching and band and all of that. And I kept writing, did a lot of arranging for the marching band, had some great mentors there that helped me, figure some stuff out. And marched some drum corps, went, got a job, mid-year job. I was a December grad, got a mid-year job at a middle school band in Fort Bend in Houston. And just, I hit the lottery because my head director was a guy named Joe Pruitt, who's retired now, but he was a real super master teacher. And he used to frustrate me because he'd walk into my band and he would say like a sentence to my clarinet section, and I'd be like, and whatever I'd been trying to fix for 3 weeks would be automatically better. And I'd be like, what did you say to them? Like, that is so not right that you just know. First of all, why did that work? Second of all, what did you say? Like it was really great to have somebody like that around. And then we had some new schools opened. I was the third director there. We had some new schools open in Fort Bend. And so they kind of got rid of the third directors and shuffled us around. So I went over to another school, and Lisa Stiles was my head director, another really super amazing master teacher. And I got to work with her for a while. And that was really amazing because that really gave me the kind of pedagogical knowledge I really needed to be a band director, especially somebody that was a percussionist. And, even the things I had done to kind of get ready to be a band director, I played French horn and I played clarinet in the non-major band at Baylor just because I knew I needed to play some wind instruments. And that was a lot of fun. But really, I credit those two, Joe and Lisa, for really teaching me how to be a band director. So then after that, I went off to high school. I was a high school assistant for, I don't know, maybe about 10 years. My kids were born. I decided I shouldn't be a head director while they were in diapers. So I stayed a high school assistant for a while. And then I moved to Colorado. I ran a program in Colorado Springs for 4 years. I started and helped found and ran a nonprofit in Colorado Springs, the Altitude Performing Arts Association. We fielded indoor drumline, indoor winter guard, but basically the idea was we wanted a place for a lot of the underserved communities of Southern Colorado to go and have a really great experience. A lot of their school programs either couldn't field groups like that, or didn't have the staff or didn't have the funding. So we had a really great run of 3 or 4 years there. Then I came back to Texas in 2018. Came back to Texas in 2018 to open up Memorial High School in Frisco, and I stayed there for 4 years until I left. I left to move to Red Oak in 2022 to be director of fine arts. I glossed over an awful lot of stuff, but that's the 1,000-foot view.
Well, you've had a very successful career and you have like so many things that go on for you that you're such a creative that like you glossing over that is okay, because if we went through every single stage of your life, I think we'd be here for a long time.
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I saw your name on a piece of paper.
I do too.
And it was when I marched in the Baylor Golden Wave.
Yep.
And we played
Sure.
the Baylor fanfare.
Yep. That's the first time I saw it too.
And I was like, this is cool. Like
BU fanfare.
Yeah, BU fanfare.
Yeah. I wrote it on my way out. Yeah, I was graduating and it was 2000. And Jeff Grogan, who was the marching band director at the time, wanted a new fanfare. There was an old Baylor fanfare that Randy Bass wrote in the 70s that went with Old Fight. Went right into Old Fight. And it was fine, but it was very 70s. Like it could have also been the theme to like a really good cop show in the 70s.
Ooh.
Like it had a very 70s like vibe to
Chips.
it. Yeah. And Jeff just wanted something a little bit more modern. And I was like, cool, I can do that. So I wrote it and they started to do it. And then Isaiah Odejima, who was probably director when y'all were in it, or did you catch
when I was there? Yeah.
When you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you catch? Was it
I had
or am
Barry
I blanking
Krause.
on it? You had Barry Krause. I was in school with Barry and Isaiah. We're both grad students when I was undergrad. Isaiah called me in 2010. He was like, "Hey, do you want? Could you do like a? Could you just like update it, the fanfare? So the one they played post 2010 is slightly different
That's the one I played.
Yes.
Yeah.
than the original one. But I think I think both are still really good. If I had realized how long they were going to play it, I would have charged them more.
Yeah.
So you did both updates, or you did
I
the
did
most
both
recent update?
updates.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. I really liked the second one. Not that I didn't like the first one that I played, but
yeah,
the updated one where it turns into like a minor
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It just
hit, I was
freshened it
like,
up a little
"Oh,
bit.
yeah. Yeah." I was
Was
like, the first
all.
time I heard that at a football game, I was like, "Oh."
That was my favorite thing that we played. That and Bruin Pride. View
Oh
Fanfare, Bruin Pride.
yeah, Bruin Pride was always brought the house
Always a fun
down.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, always
Yeah,
a fun one. Yep.
those are good
But yeah,
times.
I remember that was the first time I saw your name. Was I like, "Who's this Jason Nitsch?"
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Jason, why band? Like, why did you choose band, and why do you encourage people to do band?
I This is a really good question. I honestly, I don't think I chose band. I think it chose me. And I think for me, it has a lot to do with, I talked earlier about how I was an only child. Um, I didn't really, my friends were all exterior. I didn't have a lot of, in the house, my age friends. My mom was the youngest of all of her siblings by a long shot. So like most of my cousins were much older than me. So I didn't have cousins to hang out with. In fact, most of my nieces and nephews and I are the same age, basically. And
I
my
can relate
cousins
to that.
Yeah.
are much older than me. Yeah, I was the last grandchild of the last daughter. So so when I got to band, I was like, this is awesome, because it was like, these are my people. They're creative in their own way. They love this crazy music making thing for some reason. Um, despite all of the challenges and how much time it is and all of that. And I don't know, I just really gravitated to it. It sort of felt comfortable, um, and just kind of felt like I'd found my tribe, and I've always found that to be true. Even in a broader sense, even if you go beyond band and just say just the music community in general, and in all the different things that I do now, in the composition world and the publishing world and all of that. Um, these classrooms and these hallways and these rehearsal halls are full with really great humans, and that's what's always drawn me um, to all these kinds of groups.
So, based on your beginning band process, and you even said it yourself, you didn't figure it out until the end of your freshman year into your sophomore year. Would you say that you were the best musician in, like straight up? No.
No,
Well, like, what really sent you on like the creative side of things? I mean, could you tell like very early on
yeah,
that you were just like
I
flexing
don't
a creative element that other people weren't?
know. I mean, maybe in some small way, but I would say for the most part, I don't know if I was ever really the most like talented, best musician around. I think there were things that I was kind of naturally, you know, um, was good at. And of course, being a percussionist, you had to learn a billion zillion things. So, but there were things I had to work really, really hard at. I was not a real good four mallet player. I had to work really, really hard to become one and to remain one. Other stuff came much, much easier. I was really good at really insane timpani parts with 1,000 note changes. I could do that all day long. And unfortunately, they figured that out, so they always gave me like the stupid hardest timpani parts and stuff. Um, and I think a lot of my friends were sort of the same. We were not the people that just picked something up and made beautiful music. We were people that picked something up and were like, okay, we're gonna work this up and we're gonna figure it out. And I feel like a lot of my really close friends I had in school kind of were the same way. We were the hard workers. Maybe we were always in the music building together, so we gravitated to one another while we were wood chopping. Um, Wood chopping is not the right phrase. Wood shedding. I'm getting old. Um, but I also think that because I went through processes like that, and I have a lot of great friends that were very, very naturally talented that, I don't begrudge them for having been, touched by lightning or whatever when they were a kid. Um, but I think because of that, because I really had to work at a lot of things, I think it also sort of tore down any barriers that I had about roadblocks or detours or things that might get in the way of things I wanted to do. It just became the next thing that I had to kind of work through and get over. Oh, you're a percussionist. I mean, the first one, oh, you're a percussionist. You don't want to be a band director. You want to be a percussion teacher. No, I want to be a band director. Oh, well, you're a percussionist. You need to be able to play piano if you're going to be a composer. Well, I don't play piano. I still don't play piano. I'm never going to play piano. I feel like my composition career has been fine. So, I think going through that as a student musician, where I really had to work hard for things, I think seeped into a lot of other stuff and really has never put me in a position where I felt like there was something I wanted to do that I couldn't do. It was more of, I need to figure out how to do the work I need to do whatever this thing is.
Well, I there's a sense of like blue collar grit that I think is sometimes like forgotten about or not appreciated. Because like some of the best teachers that I know of are people who just did not have, I want to say, the best experiences growing up through a system, and they just had to figure things out on their own. So, and some of that also comes back from their upbringing, upbringing. So like Jason, you mind if I ask you, what did your parents do?
My dad, he had a water utility company that my grandfather started. My grandfather used to be like a neighborhood developer. And then at some point he kind of got tired of that in this last neighborhood that he kind of went in. He'd go in and do the roads and put in the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of his business. He decided he was going to stop doing that. But he'd put in the water company. Normally, I guess they would turn it over to the county or sell it or something. He decided to keep it and run it. And that was his business. And my dad did that with him all of his life, pretty much. So that's what he did. Not glamorous work, for sure. And I spent many summers working with him, in ditches and in the mud. And I know how to drive a tractor.
Yeah. Well, that stuff also makes you appreciate a little bit more sometimes what you're doing now. Because
Yeah.
like I worked for an electricity company as a warehouse boy in South Texas in the coastal Bend area where the humidity is 99.9%.
Jason's from
Yeah.
Houston. He
Yeah.
understands.
I mean, you get it.
I'm from
I
Houston.
mean,
I
that's
get it. Yeah.
yeah, you walk outside, you start sweating. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You
My,
know,
my first summer job was reading water meters. And there'd be two of us and we'd walk down both sides of the street and you'd stop at every house. We'd have a little screwdriver and we'd pop the lid open, and usually something would jump out at us or it'd be full of water and you'd have to reach your hand in there and hope nothing, and you'd read the number and call it out to somebody who was writing it down. You'd go down the hallway. It took us about 4 or 5 days, to read the neighborhood. And you'd do it every month. That was my first job. My first summer job was doing that. And that's, there's some character building there for sure.
yeah,
It's a
you're
good way to put it.
when you start sweating from the back of your knee when you're standing up, that's when you know.
Yeah.
That's when
That
you
should
know
not
that's too
sweat.
hot.
That should not be an area that's collecting sweat. No. Mm-mm.
And what did your mom do?
When I was young, she stayed at home. But she was a principal secretary at elementary school, for most of her life. She's retired now. And she had one particular principal she was with for a very long time. And then that principal retired and she stayed at the same school for a couple more rotations. And then she finally retired. So yeah, that was mom.
Well, I mean, that once again, that blue collar like grit, Yeah, that's lost a lot of times. And
Yeah,
some people have it and some people just don't.
sure.
And finding those people to kind of push the boundaries as far as like the work that needs to be done. I mean, it's getting harder and harder.
Well, and neither of my parents went to college. Their parents didn't go to college. Um, so, but I can remember very clearly from an early age, they were like, you were going to college, like you're going to something. I, my cousin, my cousin Kelly, I'm pretty sure was the first person in kind of our immediate family that went to college. And then I was probably the second that went and graduated. So yeah, it was always a big part of what they wanted to make sure that I could do.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this earlier that you have some DCI experience.
Yeah,
What was your journey like through that?
yeah. The same as a lot of things. I had to work really hard to get in DCI. Um, my DCI story is weird. I really wanted to march at SCV, and I guess it doesn't matter. I could tell you how old I am. It's it would have been the fall of '93. I would have been auditioning for the summer of '94. Um, and that was the year between my junior and senior years of high school. So I wasn't that old. I was 16, and they did video auditions if you were out of state at the time. So I sent one in, and they were like, what you really need to do is go march somewhere. You're still pretty young. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll go march somewhere. So January and February, I called around. I go, who's looking for a tenor player? Because that was the other thing, is I didn't want to go and I don't want to go play in a front ensemble one year. I really want to go and play tenors. So I wanted to go play tenors. Who has a tenor opening? That was back in the days you had to get on the phone and call someone, and they had to be where you were calling to answer the phone. And I went to four drum corps camps in a row, auditioning. The Skywriters were still kicking in Dallas, but they folded later that spring. But I went to Skywriters camp one weekend, and then I went to Magic of Orlando. Um, hadn't set the line yet. They didn't really have an opening, but they hadn't set the line yet, so there was an opportunity there. I went to the Boston Crusaders the next weekend, and then I went to the Troopers. Boston wanted me to come back, but they really wanted me to fill a bass drum spot. And I was like, and you think, oh, Boston Crusaders, that would have been awesome. That's one of the best drum corps in the world. Back in the '90s, they were they were in that second, third,
No, it's
group.
just
They
like
were in
early
that,
Crown.
yeah, they were in that 13th to 18th spot. Same with Magic, same with Skywriter, same with Troopers. They were kind of in that same group. Um, I didn't really think there was a spot at Magic, even though I had a good experience there. Troopers had a spot, and I really loved it because it reminded me a lot of SCV because of all the tradition. You just walk in, and it was the last one I went to, and it was very different. There wasn't that same kind of vibe at all the other camps. You go into trooper camp, and it's like every single thing there's a process for everything and a protocol, and we go from here to here, and we always do this. And I really loved that part of it, and the history, and the teachers, and everybody on the staff was really amazing. So I ended up sticking at troop, and I marched there my rookie year in '94, and then had a brief flirtation with the Blue Knights in 1995 because I had some friends that were going. Then they all bailed out, and then I ended up hurting my knee, so I didn't march anywhere in '95. And I went back to troop in '96. That was my last year marching. So I could have marched 3 more years, but by that time I was in college. I was doing a lot of writing still. I just sort of thought, this has been great. I love it, but I need to concentrate on some other stuff. I've started to do some teaching, and so that was really it for me performing. And so and I love it. I'm still, I was involved in the Trooper Legacy Corps that performed in Indy a couple of years ago. Did all the brass arrangements. oddly enough, I got sick again. I missed the whole. I missed performing. I wasn't able to go and travel and perform because of being old. But yeah, I've always had that. I've always had that great connection to Troop. I've always really enjoyed them. That was always where I considered my drum corps home. And I learned a lot there from some really great people and some really great lifelong friends for sure. And even in fact, there's a student right now marching in Troop from Red Oak, and my corps mom is still there volunteering. And
Wow.
and I got a message from her saying, "Oh, I met your kid from Red Oak." I went, "Oh, how awesome is that?"
That's fun.
There's a few corps that are just like the tradition, like
I will say one of the cooler experiences I got to have is when I was writing those arrangements for the Legacy Corps. Is they sent me just like a huge envelope full of just years and years of trooper arrangements of stuff going back to the 60s, handwritten stuff with all these notes in the margins about drill. And that was very cool to go through and look through and kind of mine from when I was creating the new arrangements for the group, because it just underscored how much tradition there was. And even just picking the songs that we were going to do, we could only do 5 or 6 songs. Like, how do you pick 5 or 6 trooper songs from this huge legacy of really traditional songs that are tied to that group? It was it was a great experience. And it was cool to be a part of. I was glad I got to do that, at least since I wasn't able to march.
Do you have a favorite part of the marching arts?
Gee, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I mean, I guess I'll answer this way. Like when I was teaching, my favorite part of it was show day, because there was pretty much nothing I could do anymore. And I switched almost on a dime from constantly teaching to, okay, I get to be a fan for 10 minutes. Because there's nothing I could do to affect the outcome of what's going on in the field. I'm just going to enjoy it. And then when they're off the field, I'll go back to teacher mode. So I would say I really love that part of it when you're working with a group, kind of turning them loose and, okay, go. You've got everything you need. Go and do. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy. And then, we'll talk about your slides later.
Yeah, that's always a hard thing for me, honestly, because I'm like stuck in the phase of being analytical consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That it's hard for me to just like enjoy the moment, and that's something I have to try really, really, really hard to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that like.
I'm trying to think of a moment I've seen you enjoy marching.
State finals this past year.
I wasn't there. Sorry, I didn't go.
But like, it's become kind of a running thing now that I don't watch the show. I don't like at football games. I'll watch it, but at contest, I become like a nervous wreck.
Do you watch it at football games?
I watch it at football games because I make tapes.
Oh yeah.
I
true.
But at contests, like I can't. I don't know what it is. I just like, and I know what it is.
That's why you like when our children goes, because then
I have a distraction. Yeah. Well, and part of it's because like if I watch it, I want to watch it for the enjoyment of watching it, not for the moment of me going, that's incorrect, or we need to do this better.
You can't compartmentalize.
Yeah,
like,
I can't.
You have a hard time with that.
Well, it's just because, I mean, that's the way we're programmed. And it's just like, I get up on the tower and what's my job?
Yeah.
You know,
you and I have very different like marching band experiences though, because you're always almost always on the tower and I'm like almost always on the field. And so I don't like watching the show. I mean, I like watching the kids perform at football games, but I don't like it because I'm still on the field level. And like, I just want to like watch it up top, and I don't get to do that very often because,
Okay. Well, maybe you need to come up on the tower.
Okay. Sure. Have to climb up there, but yeah.
Sure. But that's always the hard thing for me. Like like at state finals this year, I forced myself to go up to the box and watch and just enjoy because I knew it was going to be like the last run.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, there's no more after this. I can't be any more analytical than what I've already been.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to think, there's nothing I'm going to see on the field that I don't already know is there. So I'm just going to enjoy the show. I'll get back to my punch list later.
So currently you are the fine arts director of Red Oak ISD. So, what kind of skills that having a band director, being a band director, what skills like prepared you to take on to that type of position?
I mean, especially in Texas, running a high school band is like running a small country. And so I think there are a couple of things that help you along the way. One of them is just being able to stay calm in complex and chaotic situations, because let's face it, when you're an administrator, 90% of the things that you deal with are things that are coming up at the last minute. And it's usually because there's a problem somewhere that you're trying to solve or head off at the pass. But I think problem solving, obviously, here in Texas, we generally work with, good sized staff. So communication is a skill you have to develop amongst people, trying to get everybody and keep everybody on the same page, trying to delegate things to people, when you can. Um, and I think just being a problem solver, because so many of the things that you have to deal with when you're a band director, whether you're talking about a rehearsal situation or something else, require really quick, creative problem solving. And there's a lot to do. And I'll say too, there's still a learning curve because, um, you know a lot about band, and some of that's applicable no matter what classroom you go into. Good lesson planning is good lesson planning. Good teaching is good teaching. Good sequencing, question answer, all that kind of stuff, is valid anywhere. Um, but if you think about all the things I know about band, there are that many things to know about theater, and there are that many things to know about dance and about art. And it's slightly different at high school than it is at middle school, than it is at elementary school. And you have to know that too. So there's still a pretty big learning curve. And I was real upfront with everybody when I got there. I told them, I said, my job here is to help you do your jobs the best you can. Sometimes you're going to have to tell me what that means, or what you need me to do for you. Cause in some cases, I'm just not going to instinctively know my dance teacher needs this from me. You're going to have to tell me, and that's how I'm going to learn. And I would say even now, going into my fourth year, there are still some things that I have to go and say, all right, tell me about this, and explain it to me like I'm five. um, you know, and I've learned a lot over 3 years, but it really is, it really is just about, it's still about the same things that you do in band. It's about building culture. It's about teamwork. It's about setting standards. It's about accountability. It's just a whole different kind of application of those things. And I loved the fact that I felt like the band kids were my kids. And now I feel like I have this whole big set of kids, because I feel like I go see the one act play. I'm really proud of those kids. Like, I didn't teach them anything. I didn't program a lighting cue. I didn't sew their costumes together, but I did something behind the scenes that allowed their teachers to do that, and which allowed them to be really successful. Um, and so I'm really, one of the best things and most enjoyable things I get to do is going watching the kids perform, no matter what it is. So I don't know if that answered your question or not. I kind of
No,
wandered
that's
around
great.
there.
No, that's fantastic. Like, I can't imagine like, I'm a fine arts coordinator and I just coordinate. Being the director for the whole entire district, especially at a large district, I bet you some of the things that you see and some of the paperwork you have to like actually look at and like delegate and, advocate. I mean, it can be probably pretty daunting.
It can be. What was challenging for me is that when I came into the job, there wasn't a fine arts director,
Oh,
and so there had been one in the past, but there had been a period of time where there wasn't one. So like a lot of systems just weren't in place. We didn't have procedures for things. We didn't have protocols for things, or if we had them, everybody did them a little bit different, or every campus did a little bit different. So really the most daunting challenge has been getting everybody doing things the same way. Oh, this is going to be our procedure now for, doing purchase order requisitions. This is going to be how we get trips approved. This is going to be how we do this, because it all had to kind of be created from scratch. So you just sort of start with the most pressing one and create that. That was purchase orders. I built that system first and had it ready before I even met a lot of the faculty. And then you start chipping away at the other things that need doing. And, now I'm at the point where I'm going back to a lot of things and going, well, this is what we did 3 years ago because we needed something right then. Let's go back and let's really do it right and make it work better or more efficiently. That's certainly a big part of it. And that was another big challenge, not only just learning how everybody needed me to help, but also in creating a lot of things that you take for granted when you walk into a school. Oh, there's a process for this. I just have to learn what it is. And a lot of those things just didn't exist. So building those in a way that was functional, and getting the business office to like us, getting transportation to like us, getting custodials to like us, the people that did, building maintenance, and the people that did, like facility, registrations, all of that, getting all of that working and functional was a challenge, because every one of those groups requires a different. You can't just make it and send it to them. You got to go and you got to figure out what their processes are and how's yours going to work within theirs, too.
Everybody gets a T-shirt. Everybody gets a gift card. We know how that works.
Yeah. I try to smile a lot, and that works.
We our SRO has rights to the men's staff bathroom in the fine arts wing.
I mean, he has keys to everything anyway.
Yeah, but
he's been invited.
He's been invited because we buy Charmin for our men's bathroom in our school district.
Yeah,
at our school district?
Yeah, okay, at the high school.
At the high school band hall.
Yes. We buy Charmin, and we have
Jose Sanchez.
Yes. Bath and Body Works, room spray just in case you have an issue.
This place is legend. Like, it only lives in legend to me because I've never gone in there.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry. I just did the Music for All Summer Symposium Directors Academy.
Yeah.
And Alexa made fun of me, but I took.
Why you got to talk about this publicly?
Why? What people? I don't care.
Okay,
I don't care.
go ahead.
Like I took my own role, Charmin. I ain't playing with that whatsoever.
His suitcase was almost overweight, but
Charmin's what overdid it.
I know.
It was close.
Yeah.
We used my son as a weight because he's like 46, 47 pounds. And so I pick him up, and then I turn around and pick up the luggage and go, "Ooh, this is going to be close."
It worked.
Got to do what you got to do.
It's about 2 pounds difference.
So what are some things do you feel like band directors or just like educators need to know about like the fine arts admin?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Because certainly having seen it from both sides now, I have opinions. I think the hardest thing for me to see when I was a band director was I could see the 100-foot view, and my principal could probably see like the 1,000-foot view, and my fine arts director saw the 10,000-foot view. And I think that's the hardest thing for somebody that's not in a job like that to wrap their head around, because people are experts in their microcosms, and they know that space very well. But when you're in a job like mine, what you see is how all the different microcosms, work off each other. And you see, well, if this happens over here, it's going to affect this over here. Neither of these groups know that, and that's not what they're trying to do, but you see it. And that's both really great, because it helps in keeping everybody on the same page and keeping the department functioning efficiently. But it also becomes difficult because you're in a lot of meetings and you're in a lot of conversations and you're in a lot of real high level discussions about things going on in the district that you can't always share with everybody. you want to be as open and direct with everybody as you possibly can. Sometimes there are limits to what you can talk about because there are things that are ongoing, things that you're talking about, things that you're talking about implementing or moving away from, or we're going to do this next year. Not that, that becomes really challenging, and for people to understand how the things they do in their own program affects everybody else can sometimes be daunting. I will say I learned a lot about this in Frisco because we had so many high schools. My high school was high school 10. When I left, there were 12. And, we had to work very hard amongst us all to create, equitable experiences on all our campuses from one another while all still kind of doing things our own way. We all had our own culture and our own priorities, but it was very important on a district level, and I think to a lot of us too, that we were all creating um, at least equitable, similar experiences on all of our campuses, which also meant sometimes there were things that you wanted to do that you weren't able to do, or there were limitations on you because everybody wasn't doing it. So there were some things that you had to work within, even in trying to make it your own. So in a way, that kind of prepared me for it, working in a real big district like that. But I would say that to me is the biggest thing that I find it's hard to communicate, is that 10,000-foot view where you see everything from that kindergartner walking into music class to that senior going to all state band, and you're trying to keep everybody on track. That's a hard thing for somebody that isn't looking at all that to grasp.
Do you like comic books? We know you like sci-fi.
I never got into comic books actually, which is good because I don't need another expensive hobby. No, I never have, and I probably should have, just because of the storytelling part of it. But no, I never was. I never was a comic book person.
Because like what you're talking about reminds me of like the Guardians or the Beyonder. That's a character in like the Marvel universe. I believe it's
It's a great
Marvel.
name.
Yeah, the Beyonder. And so like it's this character that just watches, or the Watcher. It's several things. But like people who, it's like you can see things from a distance, and like you can see how they all interplay together, and it's like this butterfly effect of a situation, and how you as a professional have to navigate those, causes and reactions to that. Because like something that we've talked about beforehand is that when one program gets really, really, really competitive and really successful, one of two things are going to happen to the surrounding programs. They're either going to crater real hard, or they're going to start rising to the top along with the other program. So, I mean, if you look at like a program like Vandegrift, if you look at them, their band program is fantastic, but how many other things are they good at as a district?
They just won the Lone Star Cup.
Oh, there you go.
Probably a lot then. Yeah, I don't know, but that's kind of a culture piece, and one of the things that's kind of one of our core pillars is I say we're intentionally collaborative. And I mean that not in just the sense like within our sub departments, but across departments and across campuses. And I think that creating that idea that we want to find all these opportunities to do things together, I think what it does for a department is it allows them to all exist where they are and celebrate their growth together. Everybody's on a different journey. And certainly when I got there were certain departments that were, high achieving. There's certain departments that were, struggling and needed, more help to get on track. So everybody's in a different place, but it feels like if you're taking a growth mindset with them, nobody's thinking about where they are. They're just thinking about where's the next bit of growth going to come and what's it look like. Because it's going to be different for your dance team than it is for your winter guard, than it is for your marching band, than it is for your show choir, than it is for your, JV one act play, than it is for your elementary choir. All of those things are different. So, I know one of the ways that we combat this idea that, one of us rises, somebody else has to dip. That's not really true. Somebody's going to rise this much. You may be here, you're going to rise this much. You're rising together. We're going to do that together. And I think it just all goes down to culture, not creating a you or me kind of an idea about it. I went through really similar conversations when I was a band director. We had a lot of kids in band, when I was in at Memorial, and the choir programs and the orchestra programs were smaller. They just kind of are, not for any particular reason. They're just smaller. And, I never got this sense that we were competing for kids. Because I also think, a really good orchestra kid is not really the profile of a really good band kid, is not really the profile of a really good dance kid, is not really the profile of a really good theater kid. Those are really specific, I think, children archetypes that are served by those programs. They're looking for that. My thing was always, there are choir kids walking around the campus. We've got to go find them. They're not in the band hall. We didn't take them and put them on flute. There are theater kids walking around the campus. We've got to go find them and get them into the theater room. There's art kids walking around. We need to go and find them. So I've always been very anti the you or me, us or them kind of a thing. I was never one that felt threatened by other programs or by their successes. I loved when our other programs were successful. I was really happy for my colleagues. I was really happy for the kids. Even being a band director, not being, a fine arts director, but even being a band director on a campus, you get to know the kids in the choir. You get to know the kids in the orchestra. You do things together. You get to know those theater kids. You see them in the wing and they help you with things. You celebrate those things just as much as you celebrate anything else. But the way you do that, you do it through culture, and that's just who you are. If we're gonna beat somebody, let's take kids from the FFA. I don't know. Man,
Yeah.
that was a bad
So-
example, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, like now that you've talked about culture, like what were some of the things that you did in order to ingrain that culture in your band hall and in turn the people you're leading currently?
Yeah. Well, it's different. It's different. I was always a process guy. Let's have really good processes and let's have really good protocols and let's have really good procedures. And because I believed that, if you did things the right way, if you had good processes set up for everything, for learning, for teaching, for turning in forms, for signing up for buses, if you had really good processes in place, then you got good results. And that was always it. So it was all just about whatever it is we're going to do, we have to do it the best way that we possibly can, and we have to do it correctly. And that kind of always becomes the cornerstone of how you build your culture off of that. The culture is we do everything the right way, no matter what it is. That becomes kind of what it is. Doesn't matter if we're playing a scale and we're doing it the right way, or if I'm turning in my math homework, I'm doing it on time and my heading is right and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of the lever I always pulled on is let's have a culture of we're going to do stuff the right way. We're going to do stuff the right way when nobody's watching if we're doing it the right way. We're going to do stuff the right way, even if nobody pats us on the back, just because that's what we do. And we do it always. That's part of being a really good human, is being accountable to yourself and being accountable to the people around you, and taking care of your business is step number one. And it's similar, when you're in more of a supervisor, role to the to the music team or to the fine arts team, that we've got, it's the same sort of sentiment, because you're still about accountability. You're still about having good procedures. You're still about doing stuff the right way. But there's an added part in there that you have to allow yourself a little, flexible, what's the right word? Empowerment. And in fact, I have this conversation with our band directors all of the time. I will say to them, I'll be like, my job here is not to tell you how to be a band director. Like, you don't band direct the way I would band direct, and that's fine. You don't need to band direct the way that I band direct. You need to band direct the way you band direct, and you need, I'm going to help you do it. And I tell them sometimes, I've told them before, I said, look, I'm going to go and advocate for this thing that you want to do. I don't think you should do it. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I would not do it that way, but that's what you're telling me you think is the best thing for your kids. I'm going to go and advocate for it. So you have to be a little bit, you have to develop a little bit of personal flexibility, because you have to remember that they know the program better than you do, even though you know exactly what's going on in their program. I don't know the same thing when I walk into, the dance room, and I've been around dance teachers all of my career, because that's what you do when you're a high school band director. They have to be able to set their own priorities and their own agendas, and then you have to help them get there. And, sometimes you do have to nudge them a little bit. Hey, have you thought about? I use that a lot. Hey, have you thought about?
Yeah, I feel that a lot. Well, now I'm the oldest person on our staff, and I find myself asking the assistants, going, "Have you thought about this?"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean,
I'm not going to tell you how to do it or how I want you to do it, but I want you to think about it. And sometimes that's enough.
And then sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you have to go back and you have to say, all right, we talked about this before, so tell me how effective you think that was. Was that as effective as you thought it was going to be? Well, what might we do differently next time? There's still, even when things maybe you don't get the outcome you're looking for in some things, that still is an open conversation to have with a team member. That's a growth opportunity for them. You've had growth opportunities with kids before. Hey, you didn't really practice like you needed to for region band. You didn't get the result that you're looking for. What does that mean for the next thing that you're going to try to do? It's the same thing with faculty team members. You put them in the best situation you can for them to be successful. You try to set them up the best you can. You try to help them make the best decisions they can. And then sometimes you have to revisit things and go, well, that didn't really quite work the way that we thought. What went wrong? What do we do next time? And those are healthy conversations to have. You should have those conversations.
Growth opportunities. Whenever I get after a kid, I'm going to say, this is a growth opportunity. I'm going to have to channel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, and I think that says a lot, because like you just had a middle school with the wonderful Megan Zerwisky go to the Music for All festival. Like, how was that for you as an administrator?
That was really, I'm really, really, really proud of the students. I'm really proud of our band, faculty, our middle school band faculty. They're really, really tremendous teachers and humans and everything else. So I was really happy for them. I was really happy for our district, because it's really the first time on a national level that Red Oaks had anything like that. A kind of recognition like that. And so I was really happy for our district, to sort of get that. And I went on that trip with them. The kids had an amazing time. That's an amazing trip. I got to do double duty, because they commissioned a piece for me, and I wrote for them that they played there. And then two other schools that were playing a piece of mine. So I got to, I got to be a little composerly on that trip too, which was very cool. That I was there, and could do that. But I think what you need is, that you have a good thing going. I think sometimes you just need a little bit of recognition and a little bit of encouragement, and everybody just kind of goes, "Oh, I knew that was really good, but I didn't realize this is that good, like people that don't know anything about band or anything about music, people in the accounting department and and at the bus barn are like, oh wow, our middle school's going in, like that's amazing. So I think then it really sort of highlights the high level of work that we have going on in some of our departments. And also, I think, make some conversations about things easier, when it's, when you're fighting for budget money, or you're trying to get the master schedule just right, or you're trying to justify, the staffing. I think when you start to say, well, we have a nationally recognized middle school band program. We just celebrated with them in March. If, now we're opening up our second middle school here in the fall. If we want two really amazing middle schools, this is how you support that. This is how we have to do that. It makes some of those conversations easier with non-music people. In addition to, I think, everybody just being really happy for everybody.
Yeah. That was something that we kind of came into just recently. Like, our former band booster president, fantastic. She was also a realtor, which I feel like most other band directors who leave the profession eventually become realtors.
Quite a few,
But
yeah.
yeah, quite a few. But she was in the audience for one of our halftime performances, and we made state marching contest for the third time in a row. And somebody from the audience turned to her and was like, "I didn't realize they were good." Like, what? I mean, it took 3 years of us being consistent, for them to go like, "I didn't realize that they were good."
I mean, take it for the compliment, sure. But
Yeah.
also, I think the thing that's hard for people to contextualize is how much different our definition of good is than most of the country. And having taught in another state, like, the idea of what a really good band program is here versus other places is just astounding. People would come and hear our area, non-finalist bands at marching contest and be blown away from some other states. And, here you are making state 3 times in a row. And finally people are like, oh, yeah, I didn't realize that. That's amazing. Right.
So I I did the director band at the director academy. They have any of the band directors that are there can sign up and
Yeah.
do the band, and it's fantastic opportunity because Richard Salcedo is our conductor.
Sure. Yeah.
And like, how many
Nice.
times I'm going to be able to say like, "Oh, Richard Salcedo was my conductor," and I
Yeah.
never.
Right.
Probably one.
Yeah,
One time.
yeah.
That one
I
time
mean,
at Music for All camp.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so and he makes this joke because we're sight reading, we're just playing through pieces and doing that, and
Richard made a joke.
yes, yes,
Wow. Okay.
and so he's like, okay, yeah, we finished this piece, and he's like, okay, all right, that would be a 3+4, also known as a Texas 2. Like, what just happened? Like, and like being at that camp was so like enlightening for me because first world problems.
Texas too. That's really funny.
Yeah, I was just like, what?
That's a real thing.
Yeah, I mean,
That's funny.
talking to people and going like, I really don't have things bad sometimes because
No.
we're talking to these directors who are like, oh, we're a single director for a 400 piece high school marching
Yeah.
band, and just like going through that, and I'm going like, we got it pretty good. And people are also very aware of like what Texas is in music education, and then also that Texas music education pride. It's just like Texas pride in general. I
Yeah.
mean, we see that, and like it's great. Like, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm so glad I'm a Texan.
In my other state, they used to call me the know-it-all from Texas. Not covertly either.
Just to your face.
Yeah.
to my face. Yeah, I wore it like a badge of honor. It's fine. It was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
It was lovely. There's a lot of really good people there that I love dearly, and then some others that I haven't kept up with.
That's okay. So what advice would you give like directors or young directors that are trying to approach you and get things like done as far like with their admin?
Man, that's a really great question. I will say this, and part of this comes from me just because I'm kind of a data nerd myself. Is I always want to know where's the justification for what you're asking for, because that's what I've got to get to somebody else. Like if I go into my bosses and say, hey, we need another choir director, full-time choir position at the high school, they're going to say, why? And I'm going to say, oh, because the program is growing. They're going to say, how much? And I'm going to go, I don't know. There's more today than yesterday. They're going to want to see, they're going to want to see the numbers, So in a way, it's good that I'm a data nerd because I'm good at putting that kind of stuff together and putting it in context so they can understand. That to me is the thing that I think I was least aware of when I was in the classroom, is when I would ask for certain things, how much me just asking for them because I said I needed it, even if I did and I had a really good reason, wasn't enough. How I really had to come prepared with a good justification, and that still doesn't always do it. But sometimes when you're an administrator too, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get something on their radar, and even if you can't get something done now, maybe 6 months from now, you go, hey, we're about to talk about staffing. Remember last summer we were talking about this, and I had this, and we had some numbers, and we didn't maybe think it was quite enough to add a full-time person. Well, here's some new numbers, and now there's this much growth. There's this many more people in that. So sometimes it's about justifying getting something done. Sometimes it's just about planting a seed and starting a conversation that you're going to revisit. And that's real effective. And I think the other thing that I didn't understand when I was in the classroom is how long some of those processes really take. If you're talking about making changes, if you want to add a class, if you want to make a staffing change, a master schedule change, if you're asking for more money, those are not simple, quick conversations and things that materialize overnight. Those are things that take time, to arrange, to convince people, to get people on your side about whether they need to happen or not, then to figure out how to do it. Where's the funding going to come from? If we're adding a class, who's going to teach it? If we're adding another teacher, where are they going to teach? There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And so I think that's the other thing, is just have patience with some of this stuff, because, big answers don't come quickly. And if they come quickly, they're usually not in your favor. So I always just say to people, if it's taking a long time to get an answer, that's a real good thing, because we're still in the conversation and they haven't said no. That's probably the biggest piece of advice I would say.
Well, I think some of the other issues that come along with like that kind of stuff is the fact that directors get impatient with how long they're in a job or in a position and will leave jobs too fast to
Yeah.
see their requests like actually like
Right.
land.
Right. I have a great example of that. My last middle school job was at Dulles Middle School in Sugar Land, and we had an amazing huge band program. We had an amazing huge orchestra program. We had an amazing huge choir program. All of our programs had outgrown their facilities by a lot. And so we'd put together a proposal for a new, basically like a fine arts addition that had new rehearsal spaces and practice rooms and blah, 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 all the things. And they ended up building it. But all of us were gone before they did it. But I've been back to the school since then. I've gone, I worked on getting that building built. I never got to enjoy it. nobody that was there with me that put it together and really, advocated for it, got to enjoy it. Because it went through several rounds of review over a couple of years. Then they had to put it on a bond. Then the bond had to pass. Then it had to be up in the construction. So, I mean, they probably built it, 5 or 6 years after we first proposed it. None of us were there. Now they have this really amazing, great facility. And I'm happy that they do. But yeah, that happens a lot. Somebody sent me something today too. I was going to pull it up and read it so I could get it exactly right. That was kind of about this very same thing. What was it? Something about the grass being greener. Oh, it was maybe the grass is greener over there because you're not there messing it up.
Like,
wow.
but
I love that so much.
Yeah, that is good.
That might be true. I'm going to remember that.
What we talk about grass is greener syndrome all the time. Just because I've been fortunate enough, I'm going into my 10th year at Gatesville, and it's the growth of the program, the things that we've been doing has been great, but every single time like a director leaves, especially a head director, you have to start over in a lot of different capacities, building relationships again, like having those communication points, and sometimes those things that like you are advocating for like get swept underneath the rug because that director left. So like my head director's been at the same high school for like 30 years. He's built 5 band halls.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot of band halls.
That's a lot of band halls.
That is a lot. You think they would hire somebody to do that for him, but
he built it himself. But
yeah,
but he's been there for that many years, and he's seen the construction of like 4 or 5 different band halls.
Yeah. Well, and and I've moved around a fair amount. The longest I stayed somewhere was 7 years. That was when my kids were little, and I just wasn't looking to move. But like it's interesting because in a job like I have now, I think I couldn't just take everything I've done and set up in Red Oak and just go do it at another district, because some other district has a different set of operating instructions, and nothing that I've built here would translate. Every district runs differently. The process is differently. Their leadership tree is different, And being a band director is kind of the same way. You have a great set of answers and resources for one program that you've been at. You can't just take it up and move it to another one. You may have solutions for problems that don't exist there. Yeah. I definitely feel like a lot of times people don't give situations enough time, or you get crosswise with an administrator. Maybe you get a new principal and you don't see eye to eye with them about something, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to go. I mean, I had 3 principals, one job that I had. They come and they go. Some of them are really helpful and some of them are really great. Some of them leave you alone, and you never see them. Some of them are really hard on you and they ask a lot out of you. But that's probably one of the more kind of transient positions. Maybe not for everybody, but I'd say it feels like principals move around more than most.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always, in my old age, and of course now I don't like packing up boxes because I have a lot of stuff. In my old age, I'd say, I've become more of the, where the problem areas are where you are, where your attention has to be where you are. You've learned it. You're going to you really want to start over somewhere and learn again, and figure that out. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you do.
Does your band budget feel like it's stuck on repeat? Same old fundraiser, same week results? It's time to change the rhythm. FanPledge with Sean Murphy brings the beat back with fun, fast, and effective fundraising. No product sales, no deliveries, and if you don't raise at least 10% more than your current donation-based fundraiser, it's free. Call Sean at 903-948-7348. FanPledge, the choice of champions.
Speaking of a lot of stuff, I hear that you have an infatuation with Legos.
Yeah, I do. I don't have an infatuation. What I have is a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I have a problem. And actually, I was talking about this on my other podcasts. my composer chat podcast, because several people I've had on the show also have a Lego enthusiasm. I think it's because when I'm we've been talking about band directing, we've been talking about writing a lot, but when I'm going to sit down and write, I really have to sort of like flush my brain out and like clear it out of everything, for me to like really be in a good creative space where I can work. And I find that doing things that are not I mean, kind of mindless. Building Legos is kind of mindless because you're just following the directions, right? I'm getting this piece, I'm putting it right here where it says it. I'm not having to think about how this thing's going to stand up 10 steps from now. Somebody else has figured that part out. I'm just going through the steps. I find it very like centering, and it kind of like, it's one of those activities I do that I think really clears my brain out. I play a lot of video games too, because it's mindless. It's an activity, and then I feel good, or I mow the yard, or like I do laundry, or like something I don't really have to think about what I'm doing. So yeah, I've been a huge Lego person. My kids actually got me back into Legos. So I was into Legos when I was younger, obviously, but then when my kids started getting into Legos, then it's like the whole family got into Legos, and I'm building Legos, and my wife's building Legos, and now we have Legos in 4 or 5 rooms of the house, and we have some we haven't put together because we don't know where they're going to go.
Do you have a favorite build that you've done?
Oh gosh, that's really tricky. I don't know. I have some I've had to do twice because they did not survive a move. So I just finished rebuilding my giant, collector series Millennium Falcon.
Oh,
and that's a pretty good build. That's a beautiful set. But I did not like doing it for the second time. Because when you get it the first time, all the parts are in their little bags. Oh, open bag 1 and do all the steps. When you're putting it back together because it's fallen apart, what you have is a tub full of parts. And you're digging through them trying to find the one that you need for this step. That was not enjoyable. But yeah, obviously because of my Star Wars infatuation, I have quite a lot of Star Wars Legos. But not only. I have a giant Titanic up on the other side of my desk here, which is that build was a whole lot of fun. The Titanic build was a lot of fun.
I've seen pictures of that one. Like, have you ever seen the reel of the Lego vending machines in the airport?
Yeah,
I've actually seen a Lego vending machine in an airport.
There's this like reel or TikTok or whatever where this girl is with her boyfriend and he like buys the Titanic.
Oh my gosh.
And he has to carry it through the airport.
That is too much. Do you have Jack?
That box is huge.
He's like wearing it on his back. It's like
that's too much. Do you have Jack and Rose at the front?
No, I don't. Well, we did go. My wife and I did go. There was a traveling Titanic exhibit in Dallas we went to, and there was a place where you could pose on a little fake bow, and you could do the Jack and Rose pose. Which of course we did. Of course we did.
Real question is, were you Jack or are you Rose?
I'll never tell.
So you like the Lego thing? I figured.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there just because the kids haven't gotten there yet.
I'm waiting for them to get into it. They have the like box of like kids like starter or whatever.
Yeah,
but
just free for all.
They don't. They play with it and then they don't.
They like the Magna-Tiles.
They like Magna-Tiles a lot. But the Legos,
what I appreciate is everybody in my house kind of got into their own thing. Like my oldest daughter really loves like the cars, like building the race cars. She really loves that. And my younger daughter is really into Harry Potter. So she's built every Harry Potter thing there is. And I'm really not. And my wife is into a lot of different things, but she likes to do things like from movies she likes. So she's built the Ghostbusters, firehouse, and she loves Friends. So she's built the Friends sets and, stuff like that. And then I have all the spaceships, and
so y'all have some builds, not just a little bit. Like, cool. Like we've built something. It's like, oh my goodness.
We got a lot. One of the most depressing things I've ever done in my life is there's a website you can go on and you put all your sets in as you buy them, I guess ostensibly, but we went in, after the fact and put all of ours in. And what it does is it tracks their value over time, but also tells you how much you've spent on them, based on their purchase price when they were released. That was a depressing figure to look at. Exactly how much money we'd spent on Legos. Yeah. And I'm not sure the value is there in terms of what they're saying. But anyway, we'll see. One day maybe I'll want to clear all this out and I'll have a big eBay sale. Come and get a Lego.
I mean that, the Falcon should
That
catch
probably
a
holds its
good
value
price.
pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe
that one probably does.
The big ones.
Titanic too. Yeah.
Titanic. Yeah. That one probably.
Have you guys ever done any of the flower ones?
No. We've not done the
think those are
flower
fun.
ones.
I think I would like to do one of those.
Trying to think. Like I did they bought me the video game, the Pac-Man. There's a Pac-Man or like arcade game Lego set they bought me, and like an Atari that I put together. That was fun because I'm old enough to have had an Atari. I still have my Atari. In fact, it's in the closet over here.
Do you have a video game you drift a little bit towards?
I play 2 video games pretty much. I'll say I play a lot. I mean, I've played Madden football since it was Madden football with no numbers. So I don't know how many times I've bought that damn game. 30 times. I don't know. Because every year, I got to get the new one. So I play that a lot, and now college football has come back, so I play the college football game a lot. I tend to play sports games, but in NCAA or was NBA 2K or 2K or I can't keep them straight. Basketball, and then I have a group of very good friends, all of us former band directors, in fact, and we play a game called PUBG.
I know PUBG.
Almost every night. Almost every night we play. I would say 5 out of 7 nights a week we probably play on a good week. And that's very therapeutic. That's a lot of fun. So I play a little PUBG. Other than that, I don't much. Every now and then I'll download something and get into it. If it's a Star Wars game, I'll buy it and I'll play it for a while, but it usually doesn't hang for very long.
Our son is just really starting to understand what Mario Kart is.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a favorite here.
Yeah.
So now we play Mario Kart almost every single day.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
My daughter, on the other hand,
she does
could
not
care
care.
less.
She is like, she's not about it. She's happy to be in the other room watching TV or doing something that she wants to do, which is great.
My oldest daughter discovered like Call of Duty and those kinds of games. She likes those games, and she plays, and she likes racing games. My youngest daughter could not even, whatever, don't care. Okay,
I'm a jigsaw puzzle kind of person.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, we haven't done those.
It's because we had kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids
they eat the pieces.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is what
That's
happens.
the thing about Legos that I'm a little bit like wary about for the next year or so.
There's definitely a period where that's going in somebody's mouth.
Yeah, and like we have a baby who's about to start crawling, so it's like I don't know about that, but eventually.
Yeah. I just yell at the dogs when they come in. Don't
for us.
Whip your tail and hit the whatever X-wing.
That would be a problem for us for sure.
Yeah, that's a big problem. We play a lot of card games in my house too, Phase 10 and stuff like that, and like dice game Farkle and Yahtzee, and I'm like my grandmother now, I guess. Dominoes. We play a lot of dominoes. Chicken foot. Play a lot of chicken.
It's fun.
I like dominoes. I haven't played dominoes
My family
forever.
used to play dominoes. I don't know how to play any of the games, but my family used to play all the time.
Yeah.
And I just never was old enough to like take part in it, and then they stopped playing. So,
So you actually know how to play Yahtzee?
Yeah.
You might be the only person I've ever met that knows how to play Yahtzee.
I mean, there's instructions in the box. It's not like it's passed down from generations.
I know.
Like,
That's
knowledge.
exactly what it is. That's it. They actually give you the
Did
game
you have
with
the
no
game?
instructions.
Is that what happened to you as a child? You
Yeah,
just had a
yeah.
Yahtzee game with.
No, because nobody played Yahtzee in our house.
You guys don't seem like you play a lot of board games.
No, we played dominoes.
Yeah,
It was a
dominoes.
different vibe.
Yeah,
Dominoes was big.
You weren't playing like Trivial Pursuit or something.
No,
I love playing Trivial Pursuit.
I'm terrible at that game.
I'm not very good
I'm
at
terrible
either,
at that game.
I do like to play.
it was either dominoes or like poker.
Like cards?
Yeah, cards.
Yeah.
Do you remember that phase where everyone was really into poker for like, I don't know, 5 years?
Yeah.
Like the World Poker
I feel like
series?
everyone got into that, and the card game Egyptian Rat Screw. Do you know that one?
No, I never really played cards.
That can't be a real thing.
What? Oh yeah, it was a real thing, especially in
You
the
just made that up.
No, I did not.
Well, no one was watching that on TV, I don't think.
No.
My dad used to like sit and like watch
Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
Yeah.
World Poker Tour. Yeah.
Those some good times.
Yep.
Yeah, good times.
Jason, is there a mistake that you've made that, has made you a better educator along the way?
I don't know. I think there are plenty of mistakes I've made that made me look like an idiot. I don't know. I mean, I think everything's a learning experience. So I think there's, I keep using the word growth. I think there's growth in a lot of errors or a lot of, mistakes that you might make. I don't know. Too many to talk about. That's probably another podcast. Let's talk about Jason's mistakes.
Oh, I've made plenty.
We had to have a whole podcast about that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one I keep on referring back to is the one where I forgot to lock the back of our trailer and take it to a concert venue, and the trailer opened up on us.
That'll happen.
Luckily, you were by yourself.
Yeah, I had to count the instruments.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I was all like, "Oh my goodness! Hopefully we didn't lose any instruments." So I got in the back of the trailer and I counted instruments. Because we went down a highway.
Yeah, sure.
And so I was really having like a crisis moment.
This isn't a me thing, but I heard someone that we used to work with talk about this one time, is that they bought Six Flags tickets for the entire band and then they went and the park was closed. Have you ever heard that story? Like, they got everyone loaded up, they're going to go play at Six Flags or whatever, but they went and the park was closed.
Check your dates, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
That's not good.
It's a fun one.
So, do you have somebody that you've leaned on or like you would consider a mentor while you were doing the band director thing?
Gosh. I mean, yes, but I would say it's also like it's different people depending on what I was doing. I had different mentors when I was a middle school person than when I was a high school assistant. I had different mentors when I was a high school head director. I have different mentors now. But I mean, yeah, I mean, Joe and Lisa, who I started teaching with, like they were amazing. They were amazing mentors. Jeff Grogan, who was one of my college teachers, I honestly, he probably through the years is the one that I keep going back to for more and more things is Jeff. He and I have stayed pretty close.
And he's back at Baylor.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be just down the road, which is great. Yeah. I mean, so probably Jeff, I would say probably from him, I've learned more about, musicianship and music and teaching and being a good human than probably anybody else. If I'm looking back over 25 years, like I would say he's probably the one that I've continued to go back to. And that's pretty good person to have on speed dial.
Oh yeah.
How about on this side of things, being a fine arts director or a director of fine arts? Like, has there been anyone that you've really leaned on?
What's interesting is I've called my old fine arts directors occasionally, for things. My directors and coordinators from Frisco, I call them about things sometimes, but actually I have the best conversations with people that have more recently transitioned from being a band director to being a fine arts director. Keith Zolke in Belton and I talk a lot. And I wrote for him for years when he was still teaching at Clifton. And then like Kara Wallace in Commerce, who's doing the fine arts director thing now. After she's still doing some band directing, but she's gradually transitioning to being a fine arts director. Those happen to be, I would say, the people I call on the most often.
Well, I mean, if you're all going through it together, well, we've talked about this. Like, there's been like a generation of Baylor people who have been super, super successful. Like, and it's just like interesting to see how this cluster like they still lean on each other now,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
sure.
And it's just like that community and that home base. And it's just like, I don't know. It's pretty interesting to see how those relationships have strengthened through the years, even though there's been distance in time between interactions.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. For sure.
Yeah.
Because what year did you graduate from Baylor?
2000.
2000. So that was right before I got there. So you went to school with Pam Hyatt.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Then who else?
Like
Robert Herrings.
Robert Herrings.
You went to school with John Batson.
I went to school with John and Karen Batson.
Yeah.
I went to school with John and Megan Zarisky. I went to school with like Jacob Ramirez and Brian Zader and
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good group of people.
Adam Powell. Yeah. I mean, really was. I really do feel like I was there at a time when there was a real there was a lot of energy in the School of Music. And I thought at the time we were doing a lot of really amazing things. And now I go and hear the ensembles and I go, well, they just kept getting better. But that's also really exciting, to see. And now, I'm old enough that some of my students have gone to Baylor and now they're out teaching or, doing degrees and doing stuff. And that's another really cool thing, to kind of be a part of too. But yeah, I was very lucky. I was in school with a lot of neat people and a lot of really great teachers passed through there. Jerry Lucart was there when I got there teaching the marching band. He moved on to Minnesota and Jeff came in, and Mike Haithcock was there the whole time. And that guy is he's just a force of nature is what he is. And so incredibly knowledgeable about so many things. And then, to have been in school with people like Barry Krause, to have been in school with Isaiah and, the things that they've gone on to do, that was really cool too. But even, like some people that didn't go to the college route, Paul Sykes, who's had a great teaching career and is fine arts director in Grapevine Colleyville. There's just a lot of really amazing humans around her in that time who all ended up doing some pretty great things, musically, professionally. Yeah.
Well, and it really did establish a culture. Like, for what I walked into in 2004, there were still plenty of people talking about, that older generation and like those people who came through. And I was lucky enough. I had Kara Hofinger on, I went to school with her. I went to school with Chris Clark, whose music is starting to do some really, really wonderful things. I mean, like he's a great guy. Erica Uribe, she's killing it. Like all these people I went to school with, I'm like, I was young and dumb, and I still do lots of dumb things now. But like seeing what they've done makes me appreciate the time that I had with them when I was in college. Yeah. And so like I'm so good friends with several of these people, and I reach out to them whenever I can and go like, hey, and there's been an apology tour. Believe me, there's been an apology tour along the way. And Alexa's been around when I've done the apology tour as well. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry for some of these things. I was a young, college kid, or I was a young director or a young head director, and I just made mistakes along the way. But like being able to eat crow like that sometimes is the most beneficial, for whatever, situation. And, Jason, I owe you an apology, man, because as a young head director, I whiffed on something. I will call it completely on this situation.
This needs to be on the
I know we're gonna
podcast.
this on the mistake, and I'm gonna own this on the podcast. I ghosted
Lord.
Jason there for a hot second because I didn't know what direction we wanted to go to through with our marching show, and Jason had been writing the show for Gatesville for a hot second, and I was trying to figure some things out. And the person that I was gonna go ahead and run with made a post before I said anything to anybody. And that's how Jason
And
found
that's
out.
not a fun way to find out.
No, and Jason was rather unhappy with me for a time, and I felt
As he should have
horrible.
been.
Felt horrible about that for a long time. So yeah, live and
I mean,
learn.
if you were going to dump me, could you at least have hired somebody I didn't know? Like
Yeah,
it had to be somebody who was a
Had
good
to be-
friend of mine.
A very public announcement.
Very
Yeah.
public. I was like, when I saw that happen, I was like, oh my god, no.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, well,
that happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't happen in a way I wanted it to, and I felt bad for a long time. We're just
you see-
airing
and-
out the laundry on this pod.
And you see, 20 years later, we're still fine. Come on, I've been writing marching band shows since 1998. You know how many times I've gotten fired?
I feel like that's something that can, like, band directors don't have to deal with it as much as, like, drill writers, composers, like that kind of thing. But,
Yeah.
like, you get fired a lot.
You
And
do.
not from, like, not necessarily for any reason, but, like, sometimes people leave a job and it's like they don't
Yeah.
know what happened with the last guy or whatever. And it's just, I don't think that people are prepared for that when they get into that business,
Yeah,
writing or anything.
yeah. But
I mean,
also,
yeah.
you just sort of get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get
That's going to happen.
Thick-skinned, and that's kind of an unfortunate part. I mean, we had a vocalist on the pod, and he was all like, it's a little bit more personal with vocalists because like their voice is
A
part
part
of them,
their, yeah.
Oh,
and like you can write something, but that you writing something is not part of you.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel less attached to it if it's a marching band arrangement than if it's something else that I've written.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the next thing. You compose a whole lot, not just for marching band,
Yeah.
but in the concert setting. So you do the suburban zombie music. Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, the name. Where did the name come from?
Years ago, when I was first getting started, everybody was like, you need like a professional like company like name and something that people will remember. And a lot of people were doing like initials. Oh, it's RJS music or blah blah. It's a lot of stuff like that. And I didn't really want to do that. And I don't remember who it was. Somebody had one that was kind of like a little bit quirky. I wish I could remember the name now, but I thought, I'm going to do something kind of interesting. And I really love zombies. I love zombie movies. Like that's my jam. And I was living in the suburbs. I was like, suburban zombie music, that rolls off the tongue. And nobody is ever going to like confuse me with anybody else. Like, did I want JRS music or JSR music? Or I can't remember which one's my guy. So that's kind of how that came to be. And then that just sort of became the home where all of my stuff that's not published lives, is available through SCM. And then it's morphed over the years as I've gotten into podcasting and some other things. Now it's all under the SCM Media umbrella. And so, that's how that came out. And you can still visit me at suburbanzombiemusic.com, even though I have jasonnitsch.com.
How many .coms do you have, Jason?
I have those two. I have the Beyond the Belt podcast.com. I have the composerchat.com. And I have my next project coming up. I already have the website for that.
You have it .biz.
Yeah, they charge you more for the funny like extensions.
Yeah.
I looked at that one time and I was like, do I want to pay $20 more a year just to have that, or am I fine? No, I'm fine. Yeah.
So that is made, you've had some pieces really take off. Coffin Races.
Coffin
I believe
Races,
is
yeah,
Dance
was a good
Perpetuo.
hit.
yes.
Dance Perpetuo, yeah, I think is going to be like a gravestone piece.
Yeah.
Here lies Jason. He wrote Dance Perpetuo. That's why you know him. Um,
Oh, what's the other one?
yeah,
All is well.
It is well.
it
It
is
is well.
well. Yeah, it is well. Yeah, and you know what's interesting is a lot of those were pandemic compositions I wrote while I was at home, waiting for the world to go back to normal. When a lot of us were working remotely. Yeah, a lot of those are doing well. Oh, Skeleton Crawl
Yeah.
Yes.
is getting some play. Yeah,
There was one I saw that you wrote recently that I wanted to program for a Halloween concert, but I don't remember which one it was.
that was probably Hello Humans,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was
or it
it.
could have been
Hello
skeleton. I mean, it
humans.
could have been Skeleton Crawl.
I don't think it was Skeleton Crawl because I think Skeleton Crawl was a little tough for what I was looking for,
Oh,
but
yeah,
yeah.
maybe. Hello Humans like great too. It's
Yeah.
brand new. I wrote that
I
piece
did
for my daughter's last middle school band concert.
I think it was that
Um,
one.
it's
Yeah.
one of her favorite things to say to me, you know, when we see each other at home, is she comes up and she kind of stares at me and she says, "Hello, human." Kind of like if you were a Seinfeld fan, you know, he would go, "Hello, Newman." That's what it
Mhm.
always reminded me of. So that's how I hear it in my head.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, I wrote that for her band. Um, her last middle school concert, I wrote that for her band, and it's coming out this year from Randall Standridge Music.
Oh, it's fun.
So you have now you're dealing with two different publishing companies, Tux people.
I've always had several publishers. It's very unusual these days for anybody to just have
Be
one
exclusive.
publisher. Um, but yeah, you know, I obviously I'm really heavily involved in the Randall Standridge music, the marching band catalog, which used to be Grand Mesa Music or Grand Mesa Marching Band. That's now all Randall Standridge Music, Randall Standridge Marching Band. And I've been in that catalog since we started. We were trying to figure out when we started. We couldn't remember. We think it was 2014. But that's been really wonderful. Not just to be in a catalog like that, but also to collaborate with Randall on such an ongoing basis, which is great because he's such a genius and so creative and another great human. But you know, I do some stuff with them. I do some stuff with Tux People's Music in Denton, which is a really great group. They have a lot of really creative, clever, younger composers. Some older ones like me, but a lot of really good, fresh voices in the catalog, in the Tux catalog, which I really love. Um, and I still do a lot with Excelsia, you know, RBC, Wingert Jones. You know, now that's a bigger company, Larry Clark's company. I still do a lot with them. We did the RBC sight reading prep um, materials for the different grade levels. We did 2 sets the last couple of years, since they're doing all RBC sight reading now. So yeah, I've always had several publishers. You know, I had a lot of stuff, or not a lot of stuff. I had a lot of stuff with Grand Mesa. I had some stuff with FJH when FJH was around. I had some stuff with C. Allen early on. Yeah, very few people just have one publisher. Most people have several.
Well, let me ask you: is there one piece that you've written that you, if you said this is the last piece I ever want to hear, what would it be that you have composed?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wrote this piece last year, um, called "The Dead Teach the Living," and it's an orchestra piece, string orchestra piece. But then there's a solo cello, solo soprano, solo trumpet, and there's some narration and soundtrack, electronic track. Um, and I wrote it in large part kind of going through my own grieving process. My father passed away unexpectedly in 2021, and so a lot of this piece came out of that, kind of going through that healing process and whatnot. But it's really really different from the kind of thing I normally do, and I've gotten really into vocal music actually the last couple of years, and written a lot of vocal music, and I'm really enjoying doing that. But this piece is probably the most different thing I've ever written. And yeah, I think it's very honest and very genuine, and it's getting some attention. It's a finalist for the American Prize in the orchestra composition division this year. And so we're waiting to hear back. Should hear back here in the next month about who won. There's a lot of really great pieces on that list. I'm not going to lie. I've listened to all of them. There's probably about 15 or 16 finalists. Some really, really incredible music on that list. So I'm really honored just to be, on that list for sure. But I would say right now, sitting here, that's probably the thing that if I had to hear something the last time, I'd want to hear that one more time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a touching story, Jason. That's like really, really touching. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. If we wanted to listen to that, where would we go?
Oh, everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. It's all over the place now. I released it last year. The album is called "The Dead Teach the Living," and then that piece is the last track. And I released a whole album of vocal music last year, all original music. I wrote all the text. I did all the music. I worked with specific singers and vocalists on their pieces, and put together a vocal album I'm really, really proud of, because also is very outside the box for me and not in my wheelhouse. So a good growth opportunity for me.
Well, that's just honestly going to help you when you come back to band music. I mean,
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And I also find that in the last, I wrote almost nothing but large ensemble pieces for 15 or 16 years. And that's all I was interested in. And then I don't know, maybe eight or 10 years ago, I started drifting towards chamber music, and I started doing a lot more solo music and small ensembles and stuff with effect tracks and electronic music. And I found that my large ensemble, my band music, my orchestra music it changed dramatically when I started doing a lot more of that kind of, more what I would call more intimate writing, where you're really much more connected to the musicians on a one-on-one level. So I really love doing that and collaborating with really talented people. And I'm lucky that along the way I've met a lot of really talented musicians and singers that lend me their talents pretty freely, which I'm thankful for.
so you said, your favorite thing is like the zombie thing, and that's kind of why you went with the title that you did for your company. So
Yeah.
like, do you have what draws you to the zombie genre?
I don't know. Probably the same thing that draws me to sci-fi. It's like it's just believable enough because it's rooted a little bit in reality, but also it's inconceivable. It's probably that. Like it's just off enough that it's really interesting to me, but it's grounded in enough reality that it's not just totally out of sight.
Do you have a favorite like zombie movie?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't be a zombie fan without loving, everything George Romero, and I love those movies. But my favorite, and maybe an unconventional choice because I think a lot of people would call it a comedy, but it's a zombie movie, is Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
I was hoping
Yeah,
that's what you were going to say.
Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead. In fact, I have a right behind me over here, behind my shoulder, I have a signed picture. It's Nick Frost and Simon Pegg,
Oh.
literally right there. I'm trying to point at it. Yeah, literally right there from Shaun of the Dead. He's got the cricket bat. They're out in the yard about to probably throw some records. Yeah, I love Shaun of the Dead. That's just it's a really clever movie. In addition to being a great, I think, zombie film, it's a really clever movie. There's a really great book that was written about that movie, how that movie got written and made, and that process. I think it's called "You've Got Red on You" or something like that. It's something like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's really great. If you're a fan of that movie, I'd recommend that book.
Huh.
It's a really good
I love
read.
Almost
That would be
anything
interesting.
he does, I really enjoy, like Hot Fuzz.
We talked about this recently. I don't remember who
Hot
it was that we
Fuzz,
talked about.
World's End.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
Hot Fuzz is my favorite.
What's
like
one of the
Simon
ones
Pegg.
that's like he's in, but it's in he's like a different character. Fat Man Running.
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah.
That's another one I
Run,
enjoyed.
Fat Boy, Run.
Yeah,
Something like
Yes,
that
that.
there
one.
we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I
Fat
like
Man.
Hot Fuzz a lot. Yeah. I
Yeah,
like Hot Fuzz as well. That's a really great movie.
that one's
Uh,
my favorite.
I
Yeah.
always enjoyed the fence gag.
Yeah.
There's
You ever
always the
taken a
fence.
shortcut before?
Between that and Shaun of the Dead, where he's all like, "Kill the queen," and they're like, "What? The
Yeah.
music!"
Right.
Like if you're not paying attention, you're gonna totally miss it. Or when it's the two parties of the same people crossing paths.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. That's the thing about, a lot of those Edgar Wright movies is there's a lot in those shows that I still watch them and I still hear new things and go, how have I never heard that line before? That's so funny. There's just a lot of depth there for what are otherwise kind of silly movies. Hot Fuzz is really like a comedy, but there's a lot you will miss if you're not really paying attention.
Yes.
So are you
Yeah.
gonna go watch 28 years later?
Yeah, I absolutely am. In fact, I watched with my daughters 28 Days Later, just this last weekend, because they were like, "Well, we have to see the other two." They haven't seen the other two. We're watching 28 Weeks, and then we'll go see 28 Years Later. Yeah, absolutely. I'm along for the ride.
I haven't seen any of those.
Okay.
So composers chat.
Yeah.
How did that start?
Composer chat started. It was sort of born out of a lot of conversations in exhibit halls with my friends who were composers, because I was really interested in a lot of how they got started in things, and like well, what instrument did you play, like what was that like, a lot of things like that. Neither one of my parents were musicians. Do you have music in your family? Were you around a lot growing up? Like what made you want to like sit down and start doing this? Because I'll tell you, as somebody that spent a lot of their life writing music, it's lonely. It's a lot of time alone in the dark, a lot of times with your head in your hands, usually in total frustration. So why so many people would choose to do it was fascinating to me. And the more of these conversations I start to have with my colleagues, the more I started to think, I wonder if people would be interested in like hearing these conversations. Am I the only person that's interested in this? Would anybody be interested in this if I talked about it? And so I was talking about it with one of my good friends who I often go to for good advice, and they said, yeah, that sounds like a podcast. You should record some episodes and put them out and see if anybody listens. And so that's what I did. And I called my or I sent a message to my good friend Alex Shapiro, who I knew would be a great conversation, and she was my first guest, and it was lovely, and we had a good conversation, and
Played one of her pieces in that director band.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think it was called Homecoming.
I don't know that one, but could be.
I think it was her.
Did it have an electronic track? She does a lot with electronic tracks.
It was supposed to, and there was like singing
Oh, okay.
in it. So
Yeah.
like
Did you have to sing?
Yeah, I had
Okay,
to sing
yeah.
Homecoming. That's the
Well, don't give it
title.
all away. Yeah.
That's pretty
So,
good.
yeah, your phone's
So
on page.
it came from that, and I thought I'll see if I can get 10 people to come on the show and talk to me for an hour. And I started with some people that I knew, and then I reached out to some people I didn't really know, but are kind of new peripherally. Let me see if I, who I could talk into this. And by the time I kind of turned around, I had like 20 or 25 people booked for sessions. And I went, oh. And so I ended up doing 50 interviews the first season. So basically one a week for almost a year. And it was really amazing. And what I loved about it the most is how depending on who you are, if you're a band person, you're going to listen to certain episodes. If you're a choral person, you listen to certain episodes, and I didn't do as good a job the first season of having a lot of different people on, because obviously I know a lot of band people, so it was easy to get them scheduled. I've done better in the second season, but what's really great is, oh, I listened to this one because, oh, it was Anne McGinty and it was great to hear her talk because she's such a legend in the field. But then also it's, oh, I listened to your podcast with Marie Douglas and I wasn't familiar with her. And so I want to check her music out now because she seems really great. That part of it was really cool. Because then you feel like you're connecting some of these really talented people that with new audiences that may not find them otherwise. And if I get them one performance somewhere, because somebody heard them on the podcast, then I feel like I've done a great service. Plus it's also just fun for me, and it really is fun for me. I recorded one earlier today with somebody, and we just had a blast chatting about something that we're both really passionate about, the creating music and writing for really talented people, and being really expressive and creative, and doing all those kinds of things. So as long as it keeps being fun and people, continue to agree to talk to me, I'll keep doing it. But I know for season 2, I think we just released maybe the 20th episode or something like that. And I've got 20 more people scheduled already. We'll probably do another 50 episodes. So yeah, that's how that came to be.
That's a lot of composers.
Yeah. And yet you are here
Yeah.
talking to us on the band yet.
I know.
Yeah, of course. Well, because now I've perfected the art of just talking, which I was already pretty good at. And yeah, I've leveraged it into a whole podcast and now a podcast guest.
But that's why it's called the Yap. We just yap about all sorts
Right.
of. We
We
talked
haven't
about
perfected
Legos.
anything.
Yeah.
No. Well,
and
and I tell my guests, I say, I average 2 major tangents an episode that really have nothing to do with what it is we're here to talk about. And you never know what it's going to be. I think Jen Jolly and I talked about baseball for like a half an hour. And I'm pretty sure Gerard Hall and I did not talk about a single thing that was on the show lineup. I think we just talked for an hour about whatever was on our mind that day. Because with him, I can do that.
well, there's just certain people that you just have that connection with, and it's very easy. Like going to this camp, I had to kind of remind myself on how to make friends. Because
But yeah, and that's probably tough for you.
I mean, I have my close knit friends, and that's it. But especially being out of the Texas bubble, where I feel confident in everything that I'm doing, going up to somewhere that I'm just by myself. There's not a whole entire Texas crew. Just reminding, going oh, I gotta learn I gotta remember what it's like to just engage somebody who is, I don't have anything quote unquote in common with other than band. And we're all there to do band, which is great, but to make a different type of connection, because, talking to a parent's a whole nother situation. There's a common thread there, and it's their kid. Staff members, it's a common thread. It's, the program that you're associated with. You're working in a school district with somebody, the common thread, you're all working for the same school district. But when you're coming all together from different states and different walks of life and experiences, it was just how do I relate to this person and introduce myself and engage in a way that is going to be okay? I don't know. It's just one of those
Talk
kind of
about
things.
long tones.
Yeah. That concert F, man. Well, I sat on a Michael Pote harmony director intensive. That dude has forgotten more about tuning than I know about band.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, ridiculous. But it is what it is.
I had somebody ask me, when I worked outside of Texas. They came up to me at our convention, our state convention, which would fit in the lobby of the Texas convention. They came up to me and they were like, "Hey," and this is my first year up in Colorado. They were like, "Hey, I heard something about you. Normally, when somebody says that I don't really know, says, I heard something about you, they're going to ask me something about writing. Oh, you're the guy that writes. This guy wanted to ask me, he says, I heard you tune your band every single day. And I said, yeah. And I kind of laughed a little bit, and he was like, really? I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, how do you have time for that? I go, well, if you're doing it right, it doesn't take that long. Like, if you're not going to play in tune, what are you doing? Like, isn't that step one? Play in tune with yourself, play in tune with your section. I don't know. It blew his mind. That's my favorite tuning story right there. Actually, my school did not own a tuner. I had to buy one. Yeah.
I believe that.
One of the guys I became like pretty good friends with by the end of my trip, he teaches in Missouri,
I've been
and
there.
he apparently their convention is it Missouri or one of the other states. He taught in a couple of different states, but one of the states he teaches in or has taught in, their convention is at a Margaritaville.
Amazing.
I was all like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Yeah, it's at a Margaritaville." Could you imagine turning that into the administration?
I love it so much.
Jason is the administration.
Yeah,
How-
you're
how
talking
would-
about me. They're turning it
Yeah.
into me.
Could you imagine your directors turning in like this requisition to stay at a Margaritaville?
I mean, that's the convention hotel. That's
It's for professional development.
Yeah.
But I was just like, when he told me that, I was like, "Excuse me?" He was like, "Yeah, we go to a Margaritaville for our convention." I was like,
I'm sure they have a great ballroom.
solid.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Something.
I mean, isn't it true all the best, conventioning happens in the Hyatt bar?
Not
maybe,
anymore.
Maybe
They
maybe the Minger bar. Oh yeah, they're getting real touchy about the Grand Hyatt.
Yeah.
It's the Minger bar again now, or
I don't know.
It's
don't know.
traveled.
It's
Yeah.
not Bar Rojo anymore though.
Rip.
Yeah, because it's
Oh,
like an
R.I.P.
Italian restaurant now or something.
oh, like we needed another one of those. Yeah.
Jason, do you have a favorite memory as a band director or as a student?
I mean, way too many. I will say one of the memories I really love was recent. My last trip to UIL, which I know that seems strange. Your last trip to contest, but it was really great because I was interviewing for this job in Red Oak, and I found out I'd gotten the job the day before my band's going to UIL. So I got to go and know it was my last one. And I had this really incredible band at Memorial. It was my 4th year there. We've been open 4 years. These kids had spent 4 years with me. They were really my kids and my band, and they were really phenomenal. They could have played anything I put in front of them, and I could have sat in my office and they would have been amazing. Like, it was literally, there's only been a few times in my life where I feel like I'm just along for the ride with my band. But we had gotten to that point where they were as nerdy and serious and excited about music as I was. And they did not take a lot of anything from me. It was, all right, let's do it. And I had to try to keep up with them sometimes. So it was a really special group. And then to know that that was my last one because I was going into administration, that's always going to be really special. Because I think I would have been different if I'd found out the next week or something like that. And I think because I went into it knowing this is my last one, I think it hits different.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wish you could bring back? Anything in the world? Nostalgia, band directing, non-band directing, anything you want.
Polite, contrary discourse. I mean, could we bring that back? I am old enough. I remember a time where you could politely and in a friendly way disagree with somebody and everything was still fine. And we seem to have lost a lot of that in our current society. And I miss that a little bit.
That's a good answer.
No,
I wish I could bring that back. And it isn't gone completely, but it's gone in more ways than I like to see, because I think you have to have that in in a good society. I think you have to have positive discourse, exchange of ideas. Has to be okay that somebody else has an expertise that you don't have, and that you just listen to them and take their advice and don't question it. Not don't question it, but don't fight it because you don't know
Or understand.
or understand or, yeah. Yeah, I miss that. I wish I could bring that back. That, and I wish MTV still played music videos.
Oh yes.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
big one.
probably those two things. And I okay, well, and this is like the third thing, but I wish the West Wing TV show was still on the air,
Ooh,
and we were on probably like our fifth president or something. I wish that I wish that show would have just continued on.
me too. Me too.
Yeah,
I didn't really like the very end of The West Wing. Like, I didn't like the Jimmy Smiths, like, I don't know. It was fine. But you can tell
yeah,
when Aaron Sorkin bowed out.
sure, yeah, you absolutely can. I agree, because I feel like they set that show up to transition,
Yeah.
and then I feel like they were going to transition, and Alan Alda was going to be president. That's the way
Yeah.
everything was going, and the show could have continued, and we would have gotten a totally different kind of look at everything.
Yeah,
You
because his
know,
character was so different, but also still engaging.
yeah, and very presidential. You
Yes.
know, and highly intelligent, and a good leader, and a good public speaker, and a good
Hmm.
public servant. But you weren't going to get, like, oh, there's a new president, but Josh Lyman's still in the White House.
Yeah.
Like maybe we see Bradley Whitford from time to time because he's in Washington, but you got a whole
Mhm.
new crew. I would have excited about this idea that we could have a whole new West Wing staff to
Yeah.
get to know, with a new president in a different party. I thought that was great. And then I think John Spencer passed away,
Uh-huh.
and I think they decided that they were going to let Jimmy Smits win the
I
election.
there's a book about this.
I've read a couple of West Wing books, but there's a great podcast, the West Wing Weekly,
Yeah.
that I
What is
listened to all the way. And I feel like somebody talked about this on the podcast, that
I don't
they had
remember
switched it.
what the name of the book is, but it was fairly recent and it was by two of the women that were in the
Oh,
show.
yes. I haven't read this book, but
It
I've
was
seen it.
the woman that plays CJ's secretary, and
Yep.
then it was the national security advisor from like way later on. But they talked about John Spencer's death in it and how unexpected it was.
Going to Google it now because I also have to order this book.
I listened to it, and the authors read the
Oh,
book.
it was Melissa Fitzgerald.
Yes.
She was one of the secretaries too. Melissa
Mhm.
Fitzgerald and Mary McCormack,
Yep.
who were on the show.
Yep.
Yeah. The book is called, they're not a sponsor of this podcast or either of mine, but the book is called What's Next, which I think is great title for the
Yes.
book. That reminds me that I need to order this book because I have not
Yes.
read it yet.
It
but
was
I
a
did
good
see
read.
about it.
It was
Is it? Yeah, I'm sure that it
Mhm.
is. Yeah.
And they
I enjoyed
yeah.
the podcast a lot with Josh Molina and Rishika
I like
Hirway.
Josh Molina a
Like,
lot.
they were really funny. It was really great hearing him, especially talk about the show once he was on it.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't on it from season 1, so there was a couple of seasons there where he wasn't on the show, but he's doing the podcast about it. It was really entertaining once we got the episodes where he was really on the show. I do too. I like Josh Molina. He's very talented.
Yeah, I love The West Wing too.
Yeah,
I agree.
we could
I
bring
wish
that
it
back.
was I wish it was still on the air.
Yeah, I can't do anything about that one though.
If it wasn't banned, what would it have been?
I actually went to college, was admitted to college to be an engineer. And so I probably would be an engineer of some kind. I was going to do electrical engineering. I don't know if that would have stuck, but I would have been an engineer of some kind, which tracks a little bit because you're still like creating and building things, just in a more kind of technical vein
Yeah.
than what I'm doing now. So I can see, looking back, I could see why that was interesting to me, even though when I got into it, I was like, this isn't interesting enough. I could see why I thought that was something I might want to do. Being an architect or something like that sounds fun. Something where you're being creative, but it's grounded in some science and some math and some other knowledge. Yeah, I built a darn fine balsa wood bridge in my engineering classes. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'd be an engineer of some kind. Yeah, my dad probably wishes I had done that.
Every time someone brings up being an architect, I always think of George Costanza. How
Sure,
he always wanted to be an architect.
always.
That makes me laugh.
I feel like I would have made low cost Lego housing for the poor, except made out of Legos. Probably no longer low cost.
And then you would be rebuilding it from a tub.
Right.
The
Yeah.
parts that
Tornado would come along and then have to rebuild it from a tub. Yeah.
Or hail.
so many housing
Oh,
units.
welcome to Texas.
Yeah,
See,
really.
not a great idea.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, especially like since you lived in Houston forever and a day,
I did.
hurricane season rolls
Yeah.
around, all bets are off.
I spent some nights in the bathtub. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Same. So, do you have a guilty pleasure TV show?
I don't know that I have a guilty pleasure show. I watch a lot of shows. But I like The West Wing. So I like a lot of shows like that. I like that show, The Diplomat, that's on Netflix right now. I like shows like Madam Secretary. I tend to like drama. You'd think that I would really like comedies, and I do to a certain point. But I really like dramas. I watch a lot of dramas. The comedies come and go. I grew up in the Friends era. My wife's a huge Friends fan, so we've got Friends on in the house a lot. And there's some other things that we turn back to. But yeah, I tend to like a good drama or a good sci-fi show.
Did you watch Succession?
I did watch Succession, maybe about a season. I didn't watch it all the way through. Also didn't get into like Game of Thrones or anything like that. Like that's not I don't know. I just couldn't get into it.
That's interesting that you didn't get into Game of Thrones. But
no, I didn't. And I didn't get into Succession, but I did like there was that show Billions.
Yeah.
That was on TV. Paul Giamatti was in that. And
I love Paul Giamatti.
I do too.
Could see the other guy's face. It's a redheaded guy from that other show. I know I'm being real descriptive now.
Have you watched Severance?
I have watched Severance. My problem with Severance is what I want to do is I want to watch it all the way through because I can't keep up week to week what was happening.
Neither can I.
And so I kind of backed away from Severance with this idea that I'm going to go back and watch it all, and I haven't made it back yet.
Yeah.
So I that's on my summer list is go back and do Severance.
I think we only watched one episode, right?
Yeah.
One or two.
Just because you weren't super interested in it.
I'm not opposed to it. It's one of those things. It's like kind of a slow burn. It seems
it's
like.
a slow burn. Yeah, that's a good description for it. It's a slow burn. Yeah.
I feel like I get so little TV time.
Yeah, it's just because there's like creature cases and everything else from the children on the TV.
Paw Patrol. Yeah.
Ooh.
Watch a lot of Paw Patrol.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Listen, I was so excited when my daughters found the Clone Wars on Netflix.
I've been trying that. They don't like. Okay, I've tried several times to just kind of like gently introduce Star Wars. Like they're doing something else and it's on the TV.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't stick. And the other day I was talking to Jonah and I was like, "Do you want to watch Star Wars?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "You don't even want to try like a little bit of it?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "I only like the ones that have I only like the one with the lightsaber in it." And I was like, "Jonah, that's all of them."
Yeah.
They all have lightsabers.
That's quite a lot of it actually.
Yeah, and
a lot of lightsabers.
We tried introducing Young Jedi. Is it Young Jedi, the animated one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember who I said that to, and they were like, "Well, it's too bad.
It was me.
Too bad. You know what's going to happen at the end of the show."
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
I said this show is hard to watch knowing what happens to all of them.
Yikes.
Oh,
My bad.
That was a tough pill to swallow on that one.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, sorry.
do you have a favorite like place to eat in the greater DFW area?
Yes. Yeah. Take my money. There's a really amazing place in on the square in McKinney called Harvest. And it's one of those really amazing, like farm to table places. Everything's locally sourced within like 50 miles or something like that. Even like the silverware and the plates and stuff are all are all made somewhere close. And the food is just amazing. And because it's all local, you know, like the menu changes seasonally. So it's always kind of revolving based on what they've got, you know. I would go to that place. It's a little pricey, but I would go to that place once a week if it wasn't 90 minutes away now. When I lived up north, it was closer. Now it's a good trek to get up there, but the Harvest in McKinney every day of the week. Yeah.
Can add
That
that
sounds
to the
fun.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are not a sponsor of my show either, but they could be.
As much money as you could give them. Oh. All right, just we have some, some quick fire, not quick fire questions for you. Okay.
Okay.
So Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, or Ariana Grande?
What are we doing with them?
Oh, what? If you had to pay, listen.
Are we having a dinner party? Are we going miniature golfing? Or are we dumping a body somewhere? Like what's
if you had to
setup?
listen to one set of their music, what would it be? Who would it be?
Taylor Swift.
Okay, is pineapple acceptable on pizza?
No.
Do you have a favorite musical?
A Sunday in the Park with George.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Toilet paper over or under?
Over? What's wrong with people?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Which Twix do you prefer, the left or the right?
Oh, left.
Do you have a favorite soda?
Yeah, wild cherry Pepsi. Yeah. Very specific there.
Sousa, King, or Fillmore?
You know, I have a love-hate relationship with Marches. But I love the Roosters' legs in Kansas, so Sousa.
Favorite stand tune?
Oh, gross. I mean, Mars?
That works.
Worst stand tune?
Oh Lord. I've removed it. The Horse.
Do you have a favorite store?
Just store?
Yeah, just a store.
The Lego store. Of course.
Duh.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you watch that Lego build show when they had it on? Do they
Lego
still
No.
have it?
Masters?
Yeah, Lego Masters.
I've seen it. I don't watch it. I don't watch it regularly. It's pretty impressive what
It is.
they do. I couldn't do that. I need an instruction manual.
That's
I
like a
can't.
different level of
That's a whole,
creativity.
yeah, right? Yeah. I'm on the Padawan level down here. I need the book.
They have they build fully automated
Yeah.
electric machine
No.
things.
No, I couldn't do that. I know what you're talking
They're
about, though.
build a robot out of these Legos.
Nope.
Sure.
Do you have a walk-up song, like at a baseball game? If you had a walk-up song, what would it be?
Bitch better have my money.
That's a good one.
I mean, because I'm an arranger. I'm always chasing money.
Girl, don't get Jose started about that.
Oh, I'm just like, how hard is it? Check in hand. Like if you do the job and you complete the job in a timely manner, pay the people.
Or conversely, if you do have to mail the check, maybe.
Yeah. Mail it to me, even. Yeah. 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 That would definitely be it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Okay. If you had a spy code name, what would it be?
Spy code name?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness. Does it have to have numbers? Are we in a James Bond situation, or is it just
One of our last ones was the Eagle.
Wow.
The Eagle?
Yeah, that's what somebody said. They were just the Eagle.
It was Amy Woody.
Was it Amy that said that?
Yes, it was Amy Woody that said that.
Amy Woody, another person I went to school with.
I'm pretty sure it was her that said it.
I don't know. Boba Fett. I don't know.
Boba Fett's a good one.
It'd be something from Star Wars. Sith Lord's on the move. Or this is home base. You know, it'd be something like that.
Do you have a hidden talent?
For a long time, it was writing music, but people are starting to find out about that. So I don't know what's next.
Not hidden anymore.
No, not much. I don't know. I can do a lot of like really like stupid coordination like things with my hands because I'm a drummer. Like I always try to like trip people up with those kinds of things. Like do this real quick. Nobody can. They fall on their face. But I've done it for 20 years, so I've practiced. You know, it's really not fair.
Yeah.
If someone played you in a movie, who would it be?
If somebody played me, has to have to be somebody contemporary, or just could be any actor throughout time. Who
Any
would
actor throughout
play?
time.
Who would play me? Sam Rockwell would play me. I can't dance as well as he can, but I feel like that would be okay for the character. He could do it a
Nice
little
trade
bit.
off. Yeah.
I feel like he could really capture both the degree of my brokenness and how torturedly creative that I am. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book?
I don't know if I have a favorite book. I love lots of books, and I read a lot. I read a lot of books like that when I talked about Shaun of the Dead. I read a lot of books about I read a lot of books about like creative processes and how things get made. I'm reading a book about making of the Ted Lasso show right now, which is really interesting how some of that progressed. But I also read a lot of books about like failed companies that go under. Actually, one of the best books I've ever read in my life was a book called The Smartest Guys in the Room, which was about the downfall of Enron. And growing up in Houston, I lived through all of that. I was around for Enron.
Yeah.
Did you get fired from Enron? You made a face. Like, did you get let go? Like,
I think Jason would like to hear about this.
You're what, an ambassador?
Enron is still a thing?
Okay, so there's this guy. Have you ever heard of like the birds aren't real guy? Okay.
No, apparently I
this
have
whole,
not
like
gone to the darkest corners of the internet.
There we go. So there's this thing that like this concept that this guy came up with that like birds aren't real. They're government like surveillance basically.
Is this a
And every
cry for
time-
help? Are you reaching out right now? Like,
No,
should
not
I be
yet.
calling somebody?
No. But this guy that was his first creative venture was birds aren't real. He bought like the Enron, I don't know,
Naming
like
rights?
naming
No.
rights, yeah, for like
Okay.
$400 or $500 or
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
So he bought like the logo and everything. So he started an Instagram account and it is very produced and people think that it's real, but it's essentially a satire account.
Wow.
Where he has revived Enron as an energy company. And what this modern Enron does is they produce nuclear eggs that are for your home, to power your home with nuclear energy. And people straight up think that it's real.
This
and
sounds like
he
a
has,
Simpsons episode.
yeah, and he has all of these like he has these videos of him like having a town hall and he's the CEO of the company, and there's these people asking him questions, and I'll have to send you some of this stuff because you probably think it's kind of funny. But
My Lord.
yeah, they do stuff all the time. Like they just had an open call for interns for the fall, I guess. The Enron's looking for interns, and they have like he does things all the time where it's like, can you please contact this politician and let them know that you support nuclear energy. So yeah,
That sounds like something I would do. Just to
didn't
mess
they
with
send
people.
they sent you a shirt,
I have
right?
a T-shirt too. Yeah, they put out like a thing that was like, we need ambassadors to let people know about the good work that Enron's doing, and so like I filled it all out and they sent me stickers and a T-shirt. Yeah,
I don't know how
and
I
I
feel
guess
about
I'm-
this. I'm a little triggered. Enron's a 4-letter word in most Houstonians' households.
I know people. Yeah, and
They had to take the name off the baseball stadium, like,
yeah. And like Elizabeth Holmes, that's her dad
I-
worked for Enron.
Elizabeth Holmes. I read the book about her company. Yeah. I read all of those. I don't know why. Actually, there's a really good book about the space shuttle Columbia disaster too. Like, there's some really good books.
I read one that was about them picking up the debris in East Texas.
Yeah, I think that's I've read it several. I think it's Bringing
Yes.
Columbia Home.
Yes,
which
I've
is a
read that
really
one.
good book.
Did
This
you
one may
read
just be called Columbia, or maybe
Did
it's
you read
Challenger. I've read several.
that's what I was going to ask you, the Challenger book that came out?
Yeah, recently, or maybe like last year.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
read
was a
that.
really good one.
Yeah,
That's like
and
a
I
very
remember
good.
that. I remember watching that on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I was in elementary school for Challenger.
That was a very good
So
book.
yeah, but like, I mean, and here's the circle back around. All of those books are about one thing. They're about culture problems.
Mm-hmm.
They're about institutional dysfunction. Every one of those books about companies that failed. Every one of those disasters, airplane crashes, car things. It's all about culture. And it's all about institutional failures, which is very applicable to
Yeah,
what I'm doing, and so I've always read a lot about those things. There's a lot of good lessons to learn there. I
yeah.
read the coaching books too and all that stuff. Whoever's out, Rick Pitino and all those whatever.
Are you gonna watch a Netflix series about the Titan?
I watched it already.
Submersible?
Yeah, I've already
I
watched
haven't
it.
watched
I
it
watched it
yet.
the day it came out.
You want to talk about institutional failures?
Yeah. Yes.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a huge Titanic buff growing up too, and I read a lot of books about that growing up. And I remember that news story came on. I just looked at my wife and go, "Those people are dead.
Yeah.
They
Oh
didn't.
yeah.
They didn't. There is no search. They're not searching for anything. Those people are absolutely dead. You have these people talking on TV have no idea what they're talking about. These people are dead." Yeah, but yeah, it's shocking. Listen, I'm so nerdy. I watched the Coast Guard hearings. I had them on in my office at work. I just in the background, and I would listen a little bit while I was working on stuff. I listened to some of the testimony, and it's yeah. You want to talk about institutional failures? Right there. There's a
I
culture
feel
problem.
like Jason and I live parallel lives
Yeah, a
with
little
like the
bit.
content that we
Yeah.
consume.
Well, you were an engineering major when you.
I was an engineering major, and I'm a
Yeah. See
percussionist.
what happened
Yeah.
to us?
I don't know. I read some very similar things to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The book I'm listening to right now is The Taking of K-129. Do you know anything about Project Azorian?
Yeah. I sure do.
That one's
Yeah.
about that. It's like very in depth about building the Glomar Explorer, and
Oh, that's interesting.
it
See, my
is.
dad used to work for Hughes Tool when he was younger too.
Really?
Yeah, because they were in Houston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talk about Hughes Tool and the Summa Corporation and
Yeah.
the
Oh, that's probably a
CIA.
really good book. I'm gonna have to look
Yeah,
that up.
it is. Yeah.
I love that
It's a good
stuff.
one. Me too.
So turned into a long answer. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I derailed you a little bit.
Yeah. If you could have any fictional character as your best friend, who would it be?
Ahsoka Tano.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I have
Because she's got two
one more.
lightsabers. You need two. You need one for each hand.
and they're
Just
white.
gotta tell Jonah about that.
Yep. Okay. If you could invent a holiday, what would you celebrate?
Wow. International Secondary Dominant Day.
It needs to be celebrated.
It does need to be.
Yeah.
Pickety third.
Or, not as popular across the globe, like maybe more of a regional celebration, International Forced Barry Manilow Key Change Day.
Let's just go ahead and put that on the calendar.
Yeah. It's February 29th.
Celebrate every now and then. Okay. So here's the question that we always ask our guests at the very end of the podcast. And this is for us a true marker of the band world or small town. Is there a Dairy Queen in your hometown?
I mean, I grew up in Houston. There's like 100.
Yeah. 100 seems like a small number.
Yeah, in Houston, yes.
There's one
very
every
much so.
couple of blocks.
So what's your Dairy Queen order?
That would be a M&M Blizzard. Yeah.
I
M&M
like
Blizzard.
M&M Blizzards.
So do I.
They're hard on my teeth, though.
They are hard on the
the
teeth.
bar.
Sometimes maybe like a Oreo cookie, maybe.
Mm.
But M&M Blizzard. That's been my jam for a while.
I feel like they should make all the M&M candy or M&M ice cream combinations. They should use the M&M minis, but the texture changes.
Yeah.
Well,
they just be easier to chew.
Some places they
They're
crush the
crushed.
M&Ms.
Yeah.
Some places they give it to you whole. I don't like it when
Yeah.
they're whole. If it's the M&M like remnants, I'm that's the one I like that one.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, I think that's all I have.
I don't have anything else.
Jason, do you have anything?
I've got a lot of things, but it's probably best I don't share them.
Well,
If you ever want to share them, let us know. You can always come back, turn the microphone
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. We'll do
Yeah.
that. We'll do that
All right.
anytime. I'm right
Well,
down the road, up the
yeah.
road.
Go check out Jason's podcasts. I
All of them.
assume everywhere you can find podcasts. Yeah.
Everywhere podcasts are streaming for free, you can find them. Yeah. Beyond the Belt, Adventures from the Outer Rim, or the Composer Chat podcast. Yeah.
and then a new one that will be dropping sometime soon.
A new side quest, a Beyond the Belt side quest, coming this fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have enough to do.
Play Jason's music and all that good stuff.
Play the music, jasonnitsch.com. And Dead Teach the Living out everywhere.
Well, Jason, if somebody wants to get a hold of you for a commission or for marching band,
Yeah.
something, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
The website, jasonnitsch.com, NITSCH. And actually, I've got a consortium going right now. I'm doing a consortium for next school year. I'm writing 3 pieces. It's the idea is that I'm going to write a grade 3, grade 2, grade 1 piece for middle school, so that every band on campus could play a new piece. So it's all in one. $300. I probably got 4 or 5 groups signed up now. I'll probably try to find 4 or 5 more. But all that information is on the website.
That's cool.
Huh.
Awesome. Well, everyone go check that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening to Band Yap. We'll see you next time. Bye.
We out.
Don't forget, FanPledge is changing the game for band fundraising. Shawn Murphy can help you ditch the product sales and still bring in record-breaking support for your program. And with the 10% guarantee, there's zero risk. Give Shawn a call at 903-948-7348 to get started. One more time, 903-948-7348. FanPledge, fundraising that actually works.